Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Apex Season 4. I'm Atlas, this is Papa Smithy, and if you're just tuning in, we are now up to Lunatic-Hai versus MVP Space. This place is filling up like nobody's business. I haven't seen it this full for quite a while.
I mean, stadium's going to be electric, Atlas, because it's not just the Season 2 champions, it's not just the Season 3 champions, it's half of the Team Korea roster as well. Superstars in their own right. We're ready to start confirming names. Ryujay Hong will be playing today. Toby playing today. Zunba playing today. From there, it gets interesting, though. Miro will be playing today as well.
Yeah, still a few things left up in the air, but we'll see exactly what roster they're going to be fielding to start this one off.
There's Sombra with that beautiful Apex trophy.
Oh, man. Some of the artists in this audience are incredibly good, because a lot of this has to be done on the day, which I think is just ridiculous.
They definitely brought that from home.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because if they were here during the last series, they may not have necessarily been super into it because of the fan cheering being very, very low. They may have just spent that entire time drawing a glorious picture of Sombra.
You know, I can't rule out the possibility, but Occam's Razor says they brought it from home.
Yeah, that is certainly true. And Lunatic-Hai, certainly the favorites moving into this match, but there have been some changes on the side of MVP Space as well. Losing Daly seems a little bit unfortunate, moving over to Kongdu Panthera, but they have got some new additions to the roster as well. MVP Space, still some question marks for them, who were not as bad as the beginning of the season, towards the end of their run in Season 3.
And, you know, they've kind of rejiggered the roster with Infinity members as well. So MVP Space, getting a true read on them, probably not going to happen today, given that you think Lunatic-Hai is going to come out very, very strong. And you wonder, how much of the Lunatic-Hai strategy will emulate Team Korea, or will it just be the change in DPS members that makes things different? Because, of course, they don't have Flower and Sabiolbe on the roster. Do you still run the now infamous Reinhardt, Zarya, X-Comps would say Hanzo, for example. They have different cattle on Lunatic-Hai, and that's kind of the interesting factor is whichever DPS they're running, it changes things up pretty significantly.
Yeah, and also, based on that DPS, and they can switch them out to and fro as well. I mean, we might see something completely different coming out from Lunatic-Hai just because that DPS side of their roster, everything else very, very solid from this team. I mean, Zuma and Miro have been playing incredibly well, especially in the final against Kongdu Panthera, really winning out as far as that frontline battle is concerned. And the backline, the support needs no introduction. Jae-Hong and Toby, of course, have been playing incredibly well, also played very, very well for Team Korea. It's just the DPS that have sometimes raised some eyebrows and things like that, and now they have a heck of a lot more flexibility in that role.
But it's so interesting to work out because it says so much about how they want to play. If Who Are You comes in, you know they want to play dive. You're expecting the Genji out of Who Are You. If it's Lee Tae-jun or Guido, you know it's going to be the Tracer. So it's very interesting to see where they go, and of course Eska has this very eclectic hero pool that largely is the Sombra recently. Even when you think about it, you're like, okay, Who Are You can probably play the Doomfist just fine. Do they have another Doomfist player? That's another question mark where you're like, I don't know where they'll make of this. It's the first time we're seeing the Lunatic-Hai members play with Doomfist enabled as well. So it's a new meta. So far they've survived 2 and come out as champions. So a lot of hype here. It's Lunatic-Hai playing. It's some of the best Korean Overwatch players in the world playing. So even if the opposition isn't going to be as robust as some of the recent opposition, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and also going back to the Team Korea point as well, I mean, Zumba was basically on Zarya the whole time. The guy is an incredible Zarya player. Are we going to see them ignore map meta and things like this and just play Zarya throughout this entire series against MVP Space? Or, now that we're back in Korea, is it going to be more of that diva that he's going to be running? We'll have to find out. There are so many interesting questions, though, but let's introduce these two teams.
Overwatch Apex Season 4, energized by Hot 6, Round Robin. Today's matchup, Lunatic-Hai, MVP Space.
Good to see that there are some MVP Space fans in the audience, but it is pretty overwhelmingly Lunatic-Hai, as you might expect.
Huge squads as well, Atlas. Both of these teams actually have 8 players, so there are a few squads that have the maximum of 8. And everyone wants to know who's going to be playing on the side of Lunatic-Hai. We're ready to confirm it for you. Who are you and Guido on the bench today to start off? So Lunatic-Hai, first sighting since Season 1 of Apex. Remember, he's not actually an Apex champion. He did not play in Season 2 or 3. Going to be joining Eska as the primary DPS.
Yeah, this is super interesting. He's been playing a heck of a lot of Tracer recently, which does make a lot of sense because as soon as Eska moved away from that pick when it was Guido on the roster, I mean, his Sombra was absolutely fantastic in the final against Panthera. So we'll see whether this is going to be the makeup of Lunatic-Hai that they're going to stick with, or whether this is just sort of trying it out for the first time round. You never really know because they have so many options in the DPS role.
I mean, we can't pass judgment on the starting roster because what? A few days ago, we saw Kongdu Panthera play. Void wasn't starting. Daily was like, is this Kongdu Panthera? And one map in, they're like, wait, no, Void's really good. Let's throw him in. And they changed instantly. So we're not to know where Lunatic-Hai will end up. And honestly, Lunatic-Hai have been on such a journey of emotions and roster over the course of 3 seasons that we'll eventually learn what their starting lineup is. But for today, the strongest possible they choose is the return of Taejun after so much time.
Yeah, very exciting to see what he's going to be able to offer to this roster. And look, there have been speculation and rumors, Papa Smithy. I mean, how many more Apex season are Lunatic-Hai going to be able to play?
It's a fair point to point. Of course, the Overwatch League Seoul announcement is on the 22nd, and if you read the articles, everyone says it's going to be members from Lunatic-Hai. All of them, some of them, we don't have any special information. But this will be the last match day they'll play without some sort of announcement that may change the futures of these players. Let's focus on today, though. Taejun in the roster. Miro, who probably felt a bit unhappy that he was watching from home as Mano was the main tank of Team Korea at a fantastic Season 3 final, which probably made all the panelists want to rethink their decisions about who they sent. Zunba, how much D.Va we get to play today? You mentioned it during the pregame. 81% of his time for Team Korea was on the Zarya that he played 0 seconds of, not even a little hover during the course of Season 3. We know he's a Zarya god, but when it comes to the lineup, Eska and Taejun probably going to be playing Tracer, currently ranked 6 on the competitive ladder in Korea. Tracer, one trick almost, 35 hours of Tracer, 2 hours of Soldier 76. So when it comes to Eska, is it going to be the Sombra that define the end of his Season 3, or will it be something new? That part we don't know.
Yeah, is it going to be Eska that's going to be the man on the Doomfist? I mean, these are a lot of questions for Lunatic-Hai, because I have a feeling that they will be able to make something work when it comes to the new hero, because they have been fantastic at starting off metas like this, and anything dive-related has certainly been a Lunatic-Hai storyline.
I just love the fact that Lunatic-Hai exists as an org that's been around for multiple games, the fan base, insane. But every season's a new journey. Where you start and where you end as Lunatic-Hai often changes. Who are you started Season 3, and by the end it was all about Guido, who won the MVP of the final. We start with Taejun, we start with Guido and Who Are You on the bench. But I have no idea, and all the fans are so excited to find out what Season 4 holds for Lunatic-Hai.
And looking over the side of MVP Space now, they've made some additions. Fuse now sitting in that support role, and QOQ there. Very, very new players. Losing Daily, a little bit unfortunate, but didn't necessarily look fantastic when he was playing for Panthera the first time we saw against Uncia, which is not necessarily the height of competition.
But being preferred to Bianca, who has more experience but is sitting on the bench at least for the first game, which is interesting. So we'll see what QOQ can do. Imagine he's going to be on the D.Va Zarya duty. This could be very, very interesting. We come in with low expectations for MVP Space in this series. Where they go from there, I mean, one factor's still there. They still have the same DPS duo. He was running the Bastion last season, which was cool to see.
Yep.
Don't know if we're going to see too much Bastion this season. Seems like Doomfist is the DPS du jour.
Yeah, and of course, one fact was playing the Bastion on King's Row, if I remember correctly, and that is not a map that you necessarily want to pick against Lunatic-Hai anyway, so could be a dangerous one. We'll see whether he does hop back onto it. I believe that was a very different meta as well. Oh man, one fact is able to mix things up, and it is exciting, but let's find out which control map we are going to see first.
Started on Oasis in Series 1, on to Nepal, Series 2.
Okay, we'll see where Lunatic-Hai is going to go, because losing control is not something that Lunatic-Hai are any strangers to, and they did it a lot at the beginning of Season 3.
Think back to the final of Season 3, they almost lost the entire series because of control tiebreakers and control as well. Their record on this map type is not abysmal. They have a positive record, but the recent stats, they're not pretty.
Yeah. And this is a team with a pretty decent record in most things, being 2-time champions of Apex. I'm just so interested in...
They're all we got, Atlas.
Yeah.
Envious is gone now when it comes to
exactly.
Apex, so the only champions of Apex still competing will be Lunatic-Hai. They have the fan base, they have the fan hope. But MVP Space looking to play spoiler today.
And now with Miro instead of Mano, is Zumba going to be playing that Zarya? Is Miro going to jump back onto the Reinhardt that he's always wanted to prove himself on? There are a lot of questions for Lunatic-Hai and a lot for MVP Space, so let's move over to Nepal for our first map and find out.
I get it.
Well, we decided to put the roof back on for a Lunatic-Hai match. We took it off for the Season 3 Grand Final, which was played outdoors, but the roof's back on, and of course, promptly, it's exploded by all the Lunatic-Hai fans.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you picked up the conversation at the beginning there, Papa Smithy. I had to take my earmuffs off and put my headset back on. Appreciate it. Just need to make sure that I can still hear after those fans have been chanting. But
I think your optimism for the Zunba Zarya is going to be not quite as high played. I think 81% was the apex, which is a bad pun, of how much Zarya play we're going to see. I think D.Va still does rule the meta so much that you see D.Va opening up here, but when it comes to King's Row, when it comes to some hybrid maps, we will see the Zarya situationally from Zunba.
well, it's when Miro is so incredibly good at the Winston as well. I mean, do you pair... who are you going to give all of the strength to? Is it going to be Miro's Winston, or is it going to be Zumba on his Zarya? And I feel like Miro on the Winston is just so much more important. Is Lee-Tae-Jun going to be able to take down a mech as his first kill?
Esco's playing way off to the side on the Soldier, but couldn't be taken down. So all the opening kills do come on the side of Lunatic-Hai. They have to eventually return to the point, but power does shine through. MVP Space for being innovative, running the Pharah on this map, trying to make it work, but weren't able to get any boops, weren't able to get any opening kills either. And now trying to reclaim it with a Pharah. That sounds difficult, so Yaki moves promptly onto the Tracer.
Yep. One fact, close to that attack visor being built up. Lee-Tae-Jun needs to be careful. That recall was going to kill him, so he's just going to be taken down.
Tae-Jun hasn't played competitive in 2 seasons, so caught being a bit too aggressive on his trademark Tracer. Imagine that's going to be close to 100% game time on Tracer Series. Mira already primally raged.
Yeah, he's just... Okay, wasn't expecting that to be built up so incredibly quickly as he's going hyper-aggressive. Not going to get booped off any edges there either, and does actually get out the sound barrier from MVP Space. Fuse throws that in very quickly, and Zumba is able to punish One Fact, and in fact get Kyoku's mech at the same time. So Lunatic-Hai not relinquishing any control at all, and Lee-Tae-Jun makes his way back in, has himself the pulse bomb, and is now once again prowling.
He's the one who's going to have the most magnifying glass on his performance. They have Guido available to play. We know his Tracer is very strong, but Tae-Jun has proved himself in solo queue, is an old favorite, has the long-term synergy with the rest of the squad. Huge celebrity in Korea in Overwatch.
Yeah, does get that flank. Yeah, finds the stick
Boom.
as well. All too easy, grabs Fuse, says, welcome to MVP Space, see you later, mate. We'll see whether Lunatic-Hai will be able to get anything more, because Miro has been taken down. Zumba very, very low as Esker's getting pressured on the back line. He's going to be taken out. MVP Space, despite a really good stick from Lee-Tae-Jun, still going well in this battle. Lee-Tae-Jun has to give up so much space.
Still on the point, still competing for it though. 92% already accumulated for Lunatic-Hai. MVP Space want to flip this before 99%. I don't think they'll be able to.
Yep, ticking up now. This is not even a third of the way through. There's overtime as 99% has been gained by Lunatic-Hai, and the respawns are coming back in. They're relatively low, and that's just it. The boop off the edge, and MVP Space 0% here against Lunatic-Hai, which isn't going to surprise a lot of people, but it is disappointing nonetheless.
Feels like with how the last fight went, they could have been in more of a position to compete for the points. I'm very surprised that it times out when it does, and there's no one there from MVP Space to actually contest it. So it feels like a bit of a gift to the side of Lunatic-Hai, and they don't need many gifts in order to take the maximum. So MVP Space, back to the drawing board, ends up being surprisingly comfortable for Lunatic-Hai on Sanctum.
We have to remember that MVP Space, also veterans of Season 1 as well, so all of these things that we talk about for Metabellum in the previous series, things like that about getting used to a stage, certainly do not apply for this team. So see whether they can get things together here on Village for our second map type. We'll see what the differences are going to be as well, because a lot of those things that we talk about just not going to apply this time.
Very interesting from Space. They're running Pharmacy and also trying to sneak Reaper into the backlines. Pretty greedy. Obviously, both of them are so different when it comes to their ranges. It's hard to pull it off as a coherent identity. Mech already taken down for MVP Space.
Yeah, Undyne actually almost falling as well. Went down to about 2% health, but didn't actually die. QOQ going to just jump off the edge, try and get that mech back out of position there. So Eska now with the high ground, and Lunatic-Hai understandably are going to grab that first cap, given how brutally the front line was taken out.
And they abandoned the Reaper straight away. Maybe they were trying to start shooting with Vara, bait an engagement, and then surprise in close quarters with the Reaper. So it makes a lot more sense. And getting value out of the Vara seems to be frustrating Yaki so far.
Yep, Mira actually able to get some Tesla zaps onto her, so Yaki needs to create a little bit more hype. Does have Rocket Barrage though, so has been landing these rockets, but once again, Kyoki's going to lose his mech.
Eska
and
ults.
It means that, yeah, Eska does have freedom to utilize this, but fantastic pickoff from Yaki. Gets a couple of picks and immediately res there at the same time from Undyne. If MVP Space are going to find anything, it's going to be off the back of that. It was a great combination. Lee Tae-jun right in the back line trying to get work done, but a Winston's not going to be a prime target. And now the retake should come in. MVP Space finally with signs of life as they get their first percentage here on Control.
Really interesting to see that we had a mirror situation. If you remember back to the Apex Season 3 Grand Final, Eska popped his tac visor without any backup on low health on this map, on Village, and was able to clean up a couple of kills and actually get the momentum to Lunatic-Hai. Here he pops it at 60% with almost no chance of turning a fight, and these are the sort of decision-making things that Eska is criticized for. Means they won't have tac visor on the re-attack. They do have 3 ults, though.
Yep, Pulse Bomb not going to find too much as self-destruct does come in. One Fat gets himself out of the way, and MVP Space now with the sound barrier trying to defend. Already building up to about 32%, but it's already at 50 from Lunatic-Hai.
They have to play on the point
recap.
because Lunatic-Hai already backdoored so much percentage.
Yeah, exactly. Zumba here is going to, yep, it's going to be enough. Ticking that one up, and MVP Space didn't get it very much time, only 37% with their turn. Trying to get themselves in there. Really nice use of the self-destruct to keep himself alive on the side of QOQ. Gets himself back into the mech as well. One Fat can be res, but Undyne probably wanted to find more with that ultimate. Tae-jun picked off. Not necessarily the champion you'd expect to take him down, but Eska is going to be killed as well. Kuki doing some work, just Goomba stomps him. A nice sleep.
Of course.
Yeah. If anyone's going to be able to do it, it is most certainly Jaehong.
We saw plenty of Ana in our first series. I don't know if there was a single sleep, but...
No, not that we saw.
But the moment that Jaehong comes on...
Everyone gets tired, man. I mean, it's getting late. I can understand. Not going to blame MVP Space for that. What time is it? I mean, these are young kids. It's close to 10 p.m.
Tae-jun's been doing...
This is where they'd normally be studying, right?
Tae-jun's been doing some great little hijinks around the backside of the point, but couldn't keep the capture open. Lunatic-Hai picking it back up, though, and this is what Tae-jun is doing. You can see, trying to backdoor cap multiple times over.
And it also forces MVP Space out of position as well. So now that he brought someone forward, that's going to be the opportunity. Rocket Barrage doesn't find anything, as Kuki is going to be able to get Jaehong. So despite a misused ultimate, still able to get the work done. Tac visor coming in from Eska, gets one pick, but is it going to be enough? He now has a big monkey to worry about, who's just beaten the heck out of him. Primal Rage is going to be enough. 4 punches to the back of the skull, and that is going to be it. As MVP Space back onto the point. They're up to about 90%.
Undyne's respawning and coming back with res, so remember they have that turnaround. They don't need to use everything on the point. They do have a res they can rely on.
Yep, they get themselves the mech, and there's the nano boost. Miro just zapping everyone, so healthy. Double res comes out
Doesn't
from
get
Undyne.
Winston, though. That's probably one of the critical ones you wanted to catch.
Oh, unfortunate. Just staggering those kills. Lunatic-Hai making their way back in. Toby was picked off, but Jaehong's still there to try and get people. Not going to be able to survive that, though, as Lunatic-Hai only with 3 members left and Eska gets popped. Taejun does the same thing. And now with only Zumba hanging around, it's going to be MVP Space that grabs it, and it's a 1-1. So signs of life from MVP Space bring us to a match point here on Control for the first time.
Yeah, it will not be a sweep. Felt like Taejun was trying to backdoor a lot, but the moment that you're making a solo mission like that, you need the other 5 to be completely on point, and we saw some solo mistakes from Eska. Relative lack of synergy from Lunatic-Hai, but again, they're playing with their roster. Again, there is new factors to consider. So not quite as clean as the 100-0 they managed on Sanctum. Got one more point here. See if Lunatic-Hai can start their season off with a win.
Well, see whether they can. Differences now as Lunatic-Hai thinking about popping Eska over onto that Sombra once again. Phenomenal pick for him in the final. Should make no difference here.
Not the most reliable on this point, but you can run it, of course. But this has been Eska's home. This is when the Eska lull meme started to go away, was his consistency on the Sombra, specifically in target selection. It looked like Winston just hit the camera there.
Yeah, and sometimes target selection and timings and things like that has been Eska's downfall, most certainly. On this pick, seems to certainly work out as he's able to get that translocator out with 4 health, proving my point, thank goodness.
Did die, though, after all that. Two kills.
There's the caster curse that I was waiting for.
Inevitable. Taejun cleaning up really nicely onto Fuse, and it will be first cap for the first time to Lunatic-Hai.
Yeah. Well, actually, hang on. Really? Because if MVP Space got a cap, then they should have got more than 0% on point 1.
That's true. My mistake.
No, but it did feel like, especially in the final against Kongdu Panthera, that Lunatic-Hai didn't get a lot of first caps, if I remember correctly. Always able to get the retakes, though.
You are correct, but that was a lot of Rascal's Genji really ushering things over the line.
Yeah,
and
a lot of
Yaki's
differences
trying to
now.
make it on the Pharah on basically any point. Eska has ult already, of course.
Yep, there's the EMP. QOQ going to be immediately demeched. Miro dives forward. Nothing to get in the way. No barriers to worry about. And Lunatic-Hai, this is what we expected from them. Aggression and really great timing on these EMPs from Eska.
Feels really optimistic to try to run Pharah to attack the point after you don't capture it first time. If you get the first cap, absolutely patrolling with the Pharah, pushing up and getting rockets in can work really well. But trying to recap with the Pharah is much more difficult. Naoki a long way away from the missile barrage as well. Rocket barrage. Here's Taejun.
Dive his way forward. Okay, we've got a Transcendence being thrown through, but Toby was picked off by QOQ. MVP Space with an opportunity to get some work done. The entire backline now just removed. Jaehong going to follow suit with his prior support. Sound barrier is going to be there for Toby when he makes his way back into this fight, as Undyne just wants to get back in. He will be taken out, though, and that is going to be 4 swift picks for Lunatic-Hai.
Wasn't spot to use res, even though it looked like he wanted to, as Taejun comes in. Tags one fact.
Field day, man.
He is. Killing fields for Taejun. This is the sort of performance that will really build up confidence for a player, making a re-debut for the first time in many, many months. Been well over 6 months since we last saw Taejun in competitive.
And it's too early to really talk about it as Eska just throws in the EMP, gets himself out with the translocator. Lunatic-Hai go aggressive, good use of the sound barrier at the same time. This communication that we had question marks on certainly still there when it's Eska getting the work done. We're in overtime and everyone's dying on MVP Space. The 2-1 on Control should be here for Lunatic-Hai. And it's second time for a 99-0 as the overtime ticks down.
Mark and execute is the way that Lunatic-Hai ran that map, and person marking was Eska. That's when he's at his best on the Sombra, choosing his EMP and hack targets, calling them out, and his old mate Taejun comes in and executes them. That works really well for them on that final map. They do claim control, and Lunatic-Hai fans breathe a sigh of relief. It wasn't painless, but they got their first map win of the season.
Yeah, MVP Space, of course, not giving up without a fight, so making it that 2-1, but those 2 victories that Lunatic-Hai were able to get were certainly impressive. And I want to go back to my point that I was trying to make towards the end before Lunatic-Hai so, just won, you know, out of nowhere, and I couldn't finish it.
So rudely.
I know, so rudely won. It's just not very fair. But still, when Esker is piloting the Sombra, I just feel like the timing on the dives is unbelievable from this team. Gets the EMP, translocates out after everyone had turned onto him. It wasn't necessarily like he was looking for it. He needed to know when he had the aggression on his side. But then immediately, sound barrier goes in. Miro's leapt right onto that front line, and they do not let any time sit at all on the side of Lunatic-Hai. They're incredible when it comes to diving and timings as well.
Immediately on the defeat, MVP, just like Metabellum, pulled attack pause after their first set loss. Thinking about how they don't pick King's Row is probably what's going on in the conversation there. And I completely agree, Atlas. When it's heroes like the Sombra, where it's very clear, hey, this person's hacked, or flashbang from a McCree, or the Mei in the past when someone's frozen, feels like that's when Esker can do the most work in the DPS role. The Tracer was the one that never really worked, but now they have Taejun and Guido in the lineup to play Tracer. It's why Who Are You and Esker isn't really a duo that works, because Who Are You is a much more inflexible on the Genji side of things, and if you were to run Tracer, it would have to be Esker, who tries to be the team player. So, interesting to see, and yes, when the Sombra maps come out, no one you'd rather more than Esker to set up Lunatic-Hai.
Yeah, and I feel like he's so much better at setting. I mean, I feel like he is the server here for Lunatic-Hai, because we did have questions for his tack visors, the timings on that. So when it comes to follow-up, it's not necessarily the best.
Who Are You's there, giving pointers to Esker. He's coming into the booth. Can have the subs in there to have a bit of conversation as well. There's so many people in the booth. We're breaking fire code here.
Yeah, exactly.
The 8-man rosters and the coaches.
You can hear the crowd actually getting very, very excited having a look inside this. Oh, so many Lunatic-Hai play. Oh, God. But excited to see. We'll see whether we are actually going to get any subs in this series as well. The unsurprising, we saw Who Are You make his re-debut onto the roster.
Interesting. I think you can only make one player substitution. So would he replace Esker in that story?
Ooh, yeah.
Then it would be...
I believe if you bring in Who Are You, you'd probably have to replace Esker. Whereas if you bring in Guido, you'd replace Taejun.
That's how the conventional logic goes, but Esker is the oldest player on the roster and does take the shot calling reins they've talked about a lot of times. Jaehong helps, but...
And also our point from before, you know, like if they're going to play any maps that need a Sombra as well, I mean, I don't think that anyone can really hold a candle to how he's going to pilot that particular hero. Jaehong probably could.
And this tech pause must feel great for Lunatic-Hai because they pile in 8 members. They congratulate Taejun on a solid first start. You know, they've already got the map when they're feeling very steady. Much bigger question for MVP is where you go on hybrid. Always feels like you have that nerf against Lunatic-Hai because you only really feel like you have 3 maps to play with, given they are still undefeated on King's Row.
Eichenwald could be a place that MVP Space decide to go. They're outspoken with really liking that map, but it is also another really dangerous one against Lunatic-Hai because we've seen a lot of teams decide to mix things up, go to Eichenwald, and then just get slaughtered because Lunatic-Hai just seem to be able to make things work. They certainly have the compositions to defend that first point as well. A lot of options here, but tack pause over. Now for the decision to be made as to which hybrid we are going to head towards. Eyes on MVP Space to try and see where they're going to send us. Although eyes right now on Lunatic-Hai. Yeah, get back in here, Zumba. What the heck? Quickest bathroom break. Didn't need to bring up the toilet issue or anything like that.
That's a different game, Atlas. Let's focus on this one. Let's go see where we're going. King's Row would be the rolling the dice for the maximum for MVP, but I imagine it will be elsewhere. And Eichenwald, you discussed it a little bit there. There can be a lot of innovation, especially on defense on Eichenwald, but on attack, you can run that Sombra very happily if you're the side of Lunatic-Hai.
Yeah, definitely a dangerous option to go with. Understandable that MVP Space want to go somewhere comfortable, however. So despite the record that Lunatic-Hai do have on this particular map, I can definitely respect wanting to make sure that you're in the best position to try and succeed, especially after a loss like MVP Space. That being said, doesn't mean it's not going to be extraordinarily difficult. So many teams have tried throwing this map at Lunatic-Hai, and it just flat out doesn't work.
Space showed some signs on control, but not enough to actually pick up the map win. Let's see how they do. This time it's hybrid.
get it.
Oh, those 7 MVP fans. It's so adorable, Papa Smithy.
Somehow, in higher voice than the Combox fans in the first series, though.
Wait, they were Combox fans in the first?
That's a fair point.
Well, here we are. On to our first hybrid map of this particular series. Jaehong playing with our hearts a little bit. 2 Australians on the desk. Pretty excited to see a Junkrat, but don't know whether it'll happen.
There'll be
If only
Junkrat.
Flower was here.
There'll be Junkrat playtime sometime in Season 4, especially with the PTR buffs to the Junkrat, but probably not now.
Nice! That's a goal. 2 points.
Toby has to stay around and usher people faster back on.
Yeah, Jaehong.
Miro. Probably. Let's see if he's actually going to play the Doomfist. Be our first primary tank player jumping onto it.
Hey, that's true, and that's one of those questions that we were asking in the beginning. I believe that if Miro is going to be able to do it, like, as far as dive is concerned, Miro is certainly the man in charge, but he likes his monkey, and he's going to jump back to it.
There were a lot of tank players who, before the season started, said they would be Doomfist players, but been primary DPS only.
There's been a lot of people that have said that they're Doomfist players, though.
I mean, he's fun.
Yeah.
They want to play him, even if they can't. Very shallow sonar arrow there, just to see if there was a advanced defense. Here comes Space. They are going to run the Pharah again, so Yaki's been playing most of his game time on the Pharah. Still going with the full Pharmacy compared to other teams that have been running just solo Pharah.
Yeah. See how Undyne's going to be able to do, getting these reses in the right position. And one fact on the Doomfist now on defense. We've seen it more successful on defense than anything else, but does find the uppercut onto Eska, but doesn't go down too far, gets healed back up there as well. Lunatic-Hai still very, very comfortable now. The triple DPS composition with Toby flexing over to the Soldier there as well. Seems like it's working out, but Yaki, a fair bit of space being given to him. We need to point Toby towards him to try and pressure him out of the sky, because has looked pretty comfortable.
I just love watching Lunatic-Hai respond to things. It's their responses that separate them as a team. We already see Eska throw in the EMP, and it's going to clean this one up. But the reason why I say response, okay, there's a res. Maybe this will change.
Yeah, Undyne actually finding the targets. Decent answer to the EMP if you can stay further away from it. Sound barrier was built up, and MVP Space, with all of their members available, should be able to get this. Litajun has been nanoed. And here's one fact, just
Jaehong.
Looking for Jaehong.
Got him.
Boom! That's the meteor that we were looking at as one fact. Probably doesn't want to die to that self-destruct and isn't. Zumba's just going to remac and get himself back out. Yaki picking up kills in the meantime onto two of the DPS, out of the 3. And a good defense, good attack from MVP Space.
And you see why Doomfist is so highly prioritized, because usually you can drop back into the house near point A, and as an Ana, you have coverage. There was even Zunba next to the Ana, but Meteor Strike pops through the ceiling, able to get the pick on Jaehong, who wasn't able to evacuate like he usually is against divers. And they actually do pick up point A, delayed on what was effectively the first attack.
Yeah, now Yaki playing very far forward, getting people away from the defense. There's Rocket Barrage, largely unanswered, but Toby does just throw a Helix Rocket up towards him and then heads out with this Tac Visor. Decent damage coming in, but he's getting pressured by the front line. Primal Rage. Skookie gets angry, takes down the Soldier. One fact now with another Meteor Strike available to him. Just charging this one up, looking for the targets. But MVP Space getting this cart moving. We did mention that this is their favorite map, and they're making it look like we know exactly why, at least at the beginning.
Hildenai hit one back, but he won't be taken down completely. He has the Meteor Strike available again. Eska might have to go super deep. He's actually no longer in stealth.
Yep, does, of course, have the translocator. Only a few more seconds before he has to pop back. May actually decide not to. Does. So that is going to be the kills coming in now for Lunatic-Hai. Oh, Undyne finds a double res, but not quite all of them, as one fact, very, very low, just using the escape mechanic, hops straight onto the health pack. Wasn't actually picked up, thought he might be, as self-destruct did go off towards the payload as we were just checking out Doomfist for a moment. MVP Space continuing to try and push this one out. Remember, Lunatic-Hai want to get control back of this payload just before this second point, because it is so difficult to attack for MVP Space, and Lunatic-Hai have held that one off so many times in the past.
Still wasn't able to find an EMP initiation on that particular fight. He'll use it right here.
Yeah, pops back as well. Sound barrier is able to come in from MVP Space, though, pushing very far forward. Litajun has the pulse bomb there. But MVP Space, you can see just huddling around. They want to try and get a lot of picks at the same time. Push this one all the way forward. Kuki's getting pressured out. There's Yaki, throws in the rocket barrage, but he is picked off, and Miro's getting so much work in here. Undyne looking for the res, finds it only onto Yaki, but that is just to give 6 members back to this point for MVP Space. They are so close to getting this payload there, and they are going to do it.
They're not even able to have a boosted monkey to contest the point. Didn't have the synergy there to make it work. So this push is going surprisingly well for the side of MVP Space, making us believers of Doomfist and Pharah as a duo. The doors are broken. Start to push in. Predictably, Eska has the EMP available, but hasn't been able to have the game-changing EMPs he has in recent months.
Yeah, double support ults here as well, so Miro can jump in with some pretty powerful Teslas. As he hops in there now, Jaehong holds onto it. There it is, finally. Thrown in on top of the monkey, but Miro's still taking a lot of punishment. Zumba's going to be demeched at the same time, so frontline in trouble. Couple of kills now for MVP Space to start this one off, as Littlejohn has to get himself out of the way. Pulse bomb now built up, but he just can't risk getting on top of MVP Space. Sound barrier comes in. Maybe a little bit unnecessary as OneFrac jumps up into the sky, just buying space. It was a zoning opportunity. Yeah, slept on top of the payload. QOQ, though, gets Ryu Jaehong, and MVP Space are unrelenting. It doesn't seem to matter if they miss out on 1 DPS because somebody else is going to come in and pick up the reins.
It is changing well as well. Yaki's jumped onto the trace of this final point. Undine, remember, he was on the Mercy before.
Yeah.
And still, they were able to win the initial kills despite having 2 people switching over. And this card, it's already close to the end.
Yep, Pulse Bomb going to come down, but not going to find any sticks on the side of Littlejohn, who gets taken out. QOQ just throws the bits in there, and we've got under 2 meters for MVP Space. Self-destruct flying forward, zoning them off, but fortunately for Lunatic-Hai, they weren't able to get the space required. OneFact still looking for the punches as Miro finally able to get something. Fuse is going to answer that immediately, though, as OneFact just dives straight back into the fray. They get the mech of Zumba, and now MVP Space will push this one over the line. You have to feel another Lunatic-Hai.
OneFact's a god!
Amazing defense should not be there, as there's the Meteor Strike. He looks for the Tracer. It's a difficult one to get to as Toby jumps back in, and man, it was close. But MVP Space have to back away.
A lot of heroics from OneFact, not quite enough to close it at 1.3 meters. In the end, the rollback will begin. MVP Space invested everything to close things out. Undine's going to swap back onto the Zenyatta. They feel like they need Transcendence to close out the map, but the percentage is certainly not high. And there's only a minute left, Atlas.
Yeah, and man, I got so Lunatic-Hai baited just then. Because you always, when MVP Space were picking up so many kills in a row, things like that, and it looked like Lunatic-Hai weren't going to make their way back onto that position. Oh, no stick. The Pulse Bomb from Littlejohn, but he's just harassing this backline. Lunatic-Hai setting themselves up as, okay, Kuki, you are very far forward, and Miro going to do exactly the same thing. He's going down low, though, as he's taken out, but in the meantime, Zumba's going to switch over to the Zarya, and in this enclosed space, it is an opportunity to get work done.
It's to pressure the D.Va specifically, Atlas. They know that self-destruct is available, but pressuring the D.Va allows them to push up, stops him from being able occupy so much space right at the door of the full completion for MVP Space. They back away. They have one more attempt at this. Do not have the immediate strike available for OneFact, but probably will be built up unless he's picked off early.
Oh, another sleep.
This time onto Eska.
Zumba able to get the work done. So yeah, Undone able to hit a sleep himself. A little bit mixed up there as Yaki trying to get the work done. Eska goes in. That's going to be the sound barrier available, but thankfully MVP Space get that button down beforehand. Another Pulse Bomb flies forward as Primal Rage is invested. Littlejohn, oh, really great recall as Yaki picks up Miro. This could be an opportunity now for MVP Space as Zumba throws in the Graviton Surge. Is it going to be enough, though, as he has been nanoed up, but not quite able to get it done. Littlejohn was taken down. Zumba eventually falls as well. MVP Space now on the push once again. Can they get there in overtime? They can!
able to boop off the monkey, and they do complete it eventually. Atlas would have preferred it with the 2-minute time bank they had when they were knocking on the door of the full completion, but still full completing Eichenwald will feel good for MVP Space, who have been competitive through the 2 maps we've had today. Good closeout there. We got to see a glimpse of Zunba on the Zarya for the first time this season. Still, the staunch defenses we're used to from Lunatic-Hai, but not quite enough to deny the full cap from the side of MVP Space.
Yeah, and it was a little bit awkward. You know, it's Zarya plus the Winston as opposed to the Zarya Reinhardt that we have been talking about so much. And yes, full completion now required from Lunatic-Hai on the attack. Of course, certainly something that they will be able to do. We'll see how quickly they're going to be able to get it done, though. And whether or not MVP Space can get the defense they so desperately need to try and bring this to a 1-1 in this series.
We'll see what sort of defense they want to mount. Will it just be what they ran on attack, which they had moused over, but on defense they have the chance to reset a couple of times. Looks like it will be Yaki once again on the Pharah, and one fact on the Doomfist.
Be it defense or offense, this seems to be their favorite. 0.1 on Eichenwald.
Eska will almost certainly be running Sombra on attack, like we've seen multiple times from him on Eichenwald. Eska's ability to play Sombra attack was probably the thing that really allowed Lunatic-Hai to cement themselves over other teams. They feel like the best team in the world at running attack Sombra. Of course, defense Sombra, much more common. But Eska's target selection has always meant that Guido, or whoever his duo of DPS, in this case Taejun's job, that much more straightforward. It will open with the Sombra Tracer duo.
Yeah, I like this a lot as well, because it almost means that you can't run something like an Orisa Torbjorn or something like that has seen some success on Eichenwald, just because EMP is so incredibly effective against these shield compositions. But Yaki with a lot of range.
Going to be free hitting for most of this, you'd imagine, given that no one can really close the distance short of Jaehong himself.
Yeah. I feel like the Pharah opportunity here for Yaki is certainly a good one.
Eska's already got the Pulse Bomb. No, the Pulse Bomb, I said the EMP.
Yep.
He uses it.
Yeah, throws it out. I believe that was a little bit late. That was a bit confusing there. I'm not entirely sure how that one worked out, but Yaki's going to be able to pick up Toby.
Get the mech as well.
Yeah, Zumba does some work. Now Taejun just hunting for targets. It just feels like Lunatic-Hai, though. They are trying to tick this one up to begin with. Lee Taejun gets himself a Pulse Bomb. Now wants to find someone to stick it to. Jumps in over to the front, and actually looking for the front line, gets the stick, I believe. One fact is the one that's fallen down. I
was aiming for the Winston,
yeah,
but wasn't able to get him. There's a lot of pandemonium here, but not a successful complete first attack, and Zunba's still in pilot form. Building up, finally we'll get the Mac back.
Yeah, hops in there. So now Lunatic-Hai, another attempt at this attack. Yaki's got Rocket Barrage though. One fact, jumps his way out very close to that missile strike as Zumba takes down his opposite number in QOQ. Okay, Rocket Barrage now flying forward. He is taken down in the end, but has he got enough work done?
Res just onto Yaki.
Maybe not the investment that they were looking for, as you saw Doomfist just punch his way through. Lee Taejun was looking for that kill, as One fact eventually taken down as Miro dives forward. Undyne has to be really careful. Lee Taejun who just wants to pick him off if he can find him, but there's no res up here at this particular point, as we have got to at least the first tick.
MVP Base need to delay. They can come back with the Meteor Strike, as One fact didn't use it upon his death, but if everyone dies, not going to get value from it.
Well, speaking of value, Eska takes down the mech, and that means no more these defense matrices to come in, as yeah, Jaehong's going to get picked off by One fact, who gets himself out and then back in again, but really good hack. Comes in as Eska just EMPs the Doomfist, and he has not a lot of options after that. Another res!
Toby dies mid-air while he was channeling his ultimate, so wasn't able to get it off.
Yeah, Undyne actually just being a real hero, but does fall down to the self-destruct, unfortunately, and the pick's now going to be capitalized on by MVP Space. Yeah. It's looking real good for this squad, and I'm going to believe them when they say Eichenwald's their favorite.
And they're making it work, absolutely. They bought enough time for One fact to come in, and that's the second time we've seen Jaehong sniped away. He's going to come back on the Soldier. Very often a flex for him. The time bank starts to get slower, has the fast run, and also is tracking on Soldier, needs no introduction. Is Yaki, just takes out the Diva Mech.
Takes out the Diva Mech, and that means there's no answer to it. He takes down Lunatic-Hai at the same time. Almost feels like collateral damage is going to get rid of the Tracer as Jaehong, now it's his turn to try and get some damage in. EMP from Eska, but where's the follow-up? I mean, Translocate is going to get him back out, but that's an ultimate invested. Even one that can be built up pretty quickly is probably worth more than just throwing it out for fun. Self-destruct flies forward. QOQ now in Pilot Diva just gets hacked and should be taken down. There it is. Lunatic-Hai really want to hop on this point as now Miro. Fists are flying. One fact going to get punched but not taken down.
Doesn't have his ult just yet.
They get them off the point for a while and the res comes in only on Takuki.
He's certainly the one you want. You need him on the point to be able to occupy time. They also have that Meteor Strike.
Yeah, Lunatic-Hai needs to stand onto this point as one fact comes in. Yeah, Jaehong just gets smashed right in the middle of the ultimate. And this could be the hold for MVP Space and the 1-1 in this series. Overtime still there. Eska throws out the EMP, trying to buy more space, more time for Lunatic-Hai. They are jumping onto this point, but look at the kills for MVP Space. They should get this hold, and they should make it 1-1 in this series. A surprise once again today.
But the whole stadium is silence, Atlas. You do not often see Lunatic-Hai full held, but they are full held on Eichenwald. As you say, vindicating the status of Eichenwald as the favorite map for MVP. They tried the Sombra, and again, the first EMP came in about 30 seconds into the round, but paired with what was the question we asked so many times. And for once, the synergy that's there isn't there. And is that Guido not being in the roster and Taejun being on Tracer? Is that Doomfist throwing a wrench into the meta by warping some of these engages? That's probably what the break will be used to discuss between the members of Lunatic-Hai, because we're not seeing any 3-0s today. We go in all even.
And actually, just that Doomfist from One Fact as well, really, really strong on that hybrid map. So see whether it is going to be as effective, because we've seen it be fantastic on Assault. MVP Space, if they're the ones that can utilize Doomfist better than Lunatic-Hai, it could be an opportunity for them to go up in this series over Lunatic-Hai.
I wonder who the Lunatic-Hai Doomfist player will be, and whether that player is currently on the roster starting or potentially having to come off the bench. We don't know, Alex.
Well, we might find out soon, but we are going to have a short break. When we get back, we'll get back to this tied-up series between MVP Space and Lunatic-Hai.
에너지가 필요한 순간 핫식스와 함께 핫하게 즐겨라. 올여름 가장 핫한 리그 오버워치 핫식스 에이펙스.
Game, record, and stream without compromise.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Apex Season 4. Surprisingly, we have a tied-up series between Lunatic-Hai and MVP Space. MVP Space just making the Doomfist look good, and Lunatic-Hai making the Doomfist look missing from their composition.
You gotta say, the Pharah and Doomfist combo did seem to answer the Sombra attack that Lunatic-Hai was so well known for by the end of Season 3. All their players have discussed that they can play the Doomfist. You'd be not surprised to see basically anyone on Lunatic-Hai pick it up. But is it ready for the highest level of play? Is it someone who's going to main that particular hero on the roster right now, or is that going to be a switch up? We don't have the full information, but in the end, a full hold onto Lunatic-Hai is a bit of a star-making performance. It's sort of a feather in the cap that will mean a lot to MVP Space.
Yeah, and the Doomfist players that we've seen really excelling have been those of the Genji players, you know, that understand when to go in aggressively with more squishy heroes, things like that. We are going to see our assault map. Where are we going? Temple of Anubis is going to be Lunatic-Hai's decision. And we've seen Doomfist work on this map as well.
A lot of Talon comp, the Reaper and Sombra attack that hasn't always been the most effective. We've seen very long time banks wasted on point B. No guarantee of the double cap. Temple of Anubis has led to tiebreakers between Lunatic-Hai and other teams before as well. So it's going to be very interesting here that they choose Temple of Anubis. Smiles on the face of Miro. The crowd silence a little bit after watching their Chargers lose once. You're right, in good spirits for sure, and we know that there's, I'm sure, many different strategies they're hiding from the eyes. It's only their first match of what they expect to be a very long season. But if MVP Space can pick up a victory here, that'd be certainly interesting. Remember, we went all 5 at the start of Season 3 with Lunatic-Hai.
get it.
What? What was that?
That was madness, Atlas.
That was fury? I'm not entirely sure, but okay. See what Lunatic-Hai have in store for us on attack here on Temple of Anubis.
Be a bit more inspecting of the defense comp. Yaki's been almost exclusively on the Pharah and Tracer in his career, and certainly in this series, so Genji would be a departure, but something he's played before.
The ultra melee comp? Could this be a thing?
Well, you know, Genji does throw out the shurikens and
Well, yeah.
farm up his ultra melee.
It farms up the ultra melee.
That's pretty much all he does, is poke till he gets the ult, unless you get into your dash resets. Not very common on defense here because of the good sight lines. What Lunatic-Hai is running is the more interesting potion when we get the confirmation. Eska getting his eye in.
Yep. See whether it is actually going to be the Widowmaker or whether it's a few pot shots from the front door. Taejun does switch back to the Tracer instead of that of the Genji, which could have been interesting, but not surprising that he goes back to the Tracer. But here we are, Eska committing to Widow for a little bit longer at least.
They're hiding the Doomfist for as long as possible in the high ground. Not looking to close down on Eska just yet.
Yep, getting some shots, but only really landing them onto the mech, not necessarily getting the important pickoffs or anything. Kuki taking a lot of damage actually from the fully charged bullets.
And just have Ana heal him though, so not gonna stick. One fac's falling low.
Yeah, and this inherent pressure that comes out from having this Widow unanswered on the high ground. Oh, Yaki looking for that reflection with a headshot, but doesn't get it onto Eska.
Finally fighting on the point, which is where Lunatic-Hai have parked themselves.
Yeah, get the first tick already as well without too much of an answer from MVP Space. Miro already able to take out Undyne. Lee Tae-jun, despite the low health bar, actually wants to get himself back into this fight. One fact, just getting shot and destroyed. Not a lot of options here, and he's not using his buttons to try and get kills. He's using them to try and get out and doesn't even manage to do so. Eska, fish in a barrel here on the side of MVP Space, and they just get torn up. Undyne was meandering back to the point and probably is just going to turn around.
And the big problem there for MVP Space is they never really had any coherence because they were respecting that Eska had free sight lines. So you were talking about the fact that we never saw the true commitment from the Doomfist. He was always alone. There was never anyone pocketing him, and they had to respect a 250 HP hero, being largely his health bar deleted by a single shot from Eska. So they didn't have a plan with the Doomfist to work against the Widowmaker, and it ended up being a free push for Lunatic-Hai. They've even got 5 ultimates for a snowball capture.
Yeah, really, really nicely done. And we are going to have Ryu Jahong just runs straight forward with that Transcendence. Toby holding onto the sound barrier, then throws it out after the ult was used up by Jaehong. Asleep now onto Zumba, which is nice work from Undyne, but can MVP Space answer back after already losing one? Lunatic-Hai sitting themselves on this point and unable to get the pick-off. MVP Space onto Jaehong in the backline. QOQ does get Lee Tae-jun, which is certainly good news, but it's answered back with Undyne once again going down.
Eska dies, but does throw out the EMP.
Okay, is that going to be enough here as Zumba in this Pilot Diva form is just going to try and get himself killed as quickly as possible, and now at 5.5 minutes, Lunatic-Hai reevaluate and look for this once again. 0 ultimates, few economic pushes are going to have to come in.
Lunatic-Hai used a lot to try to make that push. He's 5 to 6 ultimates there. Lost track over the course of the extended fight and got nothing. Not even a single tick onto point B. Jaehong jumping onto his trademark Mei. Very often runs us on the second point on attack, on 2-point capture. But Blizzard's going to take a while to build up.
Yep.
Blizzard EMP is the most demoralizing zone of no control for the defensive team.
Also, Jaehong's right clicks have been incredible.
Oh boy,
my
to sleep
God.
into the stick.
Super sexy. Coming out from one fact. Pretty easy to land one onto a sleeping monkey.
Jaehong's brawling and picking up quite a lot of ult percentage.
Yeah, although did just get destroyed by Kuki. It jumped on top of him.
And that's fine, though. Again, this is much more about building up the ult economy than a true commitment. Lunatic-Hai already tried a snowball capture, failed it, and they're retooling, so picking up 70% onto the Mei is not trivial.
Yep.
Yaki's actually EMP'd.
Well, he wanted to use his, but is going to be taken down right at the end of that EMP timing. Nice work. Miro able to get the last little bit in there as Lunatic-Hai losing a lot of health bars on their members, but not necessarily losing the whole lot, which is the important part.
And even bigger success, they drew out the sound barrier and kited back from it, weren't looking to fight with it. They should have Blizzard, EMP, and no sound barrier or defensive ults available for MVP Space. This is Lunatic-Hai's time to shine.
Yep, it's their opportunity. They're going to run it up left, see what they can do. Eska trying to get the hack in. EMP will be available very, very soon, but he has to get himself out with that translocator first. Lunatic-Hai coming in with the sound barrier first. The Jaehong can't use his Blizzard, but probably didn't want to anyway. Oh no, picked off before that ult could be thrown down.
It was hacked forever, it felt like. Such long duration, there's never got the Blizzard off.
Still though, self-destruct comes in from Zumba, hops back into his mech, and Lunatic-Hai are going to be able to at least claim some position on this point. First tick yet to come in. Taejun off over to the side, gets hacked, but is still going to be okay. Building up this ult charge. Just need to get Jaehong back onto this point. Finally, he's here. Throws down the Blizzard and ice blocks up, so he's not going to get picked. One fact, still just doing so much work, but it's MVP Space that have been able to get the kills.
It was a bit of a lazy Blizzard. Two people had died as he was throwing it down. He had nothing to pair it with. And now, a fairly slow to build ultimate is wasted by Jaehong. Down to 2 minutes 30. It was such a triumphant first push with 5 ultimates on the backside, and suddenly it's 2 minutes 30 away from MVP Space denying point B.
Well, Jaehong switching it over. They're going to go for that talent composition that you were talking about before, Papa Smithy. After the Mei did not work.
Well, they already tried farming an important on to Jaehong and then mis-executed on it, so they need to get Jaehong this ult in the next 2 pushes maximum.
Yep, 2 minutes now to go here for Lunatic-Hai. As Yaki once again another EMP. Nicely done as the sleep comes down, but immediately cancelled onto Miro. Unfortunate, Nano Boost was thrown out, but you can see one fact, able to get the pick onto the monkey. Jaehong goes down as well without building any ultimate to speak of. Only 22% as he hops back up. And look at how aggressive Yaki's being.
Yaki's been a star on the Pharah today, on the Trace had a decent round, and now playing it off on the Sombra himself. Usually we see Eska heavily outclass enemy Sombras. MVP Space pulling this off and not using much. They have 4 ultimates available, and EMP basically has no cooldown at the highest level. So once again, Lunatic-Hai try, and they did not get much on the side of Jaehong on their first attempt pushing with the Reaper.
Yeah, I believe it was just a nano boost thrown in from Undyne to get themselves the initial picks. One fact, looking for Eska, who has to get out. And Jaehong down very, very low once again. Pulse Bomb comes in, not going to find too much joy as Undyne down extraordinarily low and eventually gets picked. Eska successful in taking 1 down, but can they get any more? Okay, EMP flies through from Yaki. He's going to get taken out, though, immediately afterwards, and Eska holds on to his. They want to find the ultimate position to use it. Death Blossom comes in. Now they have the combo. As there it is, Death Blossom thrown in there. They didn't even really need to use Eska's ultimate to try and get the kills as Lunatic-Hai on top of the point. 40 seconds to go, but this could be their opportunity. There's only 2 left, and Yaki's trying to hold on, trying to get the work done, but here it is. And Lunatic-Hai find their moment, and they execute.
Yeah, their moment was there, Atlas. It was one of their own creation because they had an ult disadvantage, pressured so many ultimates out of the side of MVP Space, and ran down the front door, got Jaehong the Death Blossom to keep him alive and take out the mech, and closed out Temple of Anubis. So now we have much less of a chance of there being one of those tiebreakers. We see one team fully capture it, certainly not with the time bank that Lunatic-Hai would have expected after taking point A with almost no resistance. The white flag was waved by MVP Space very early in the picture. MVP Space, when it comes to the time bank, will feel good. It would have hoped to pull off the hold on point B, but not to be.
Yeah, huge shout out to Yaki there as well. I mean, despite the loss, MVP Space did look very, very good with that Sombra play all around what Yaki was able to get done. Undyne as well, landing some decent sleep darts on that Ana, but now going to switch over to what looked like the Zenyatta, but the Sombra now on attack theoretically could be an option here for MVP Space.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that. Triple DPS, a possibility, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
They want to do, whereas on Lunatic-Hai's side, Eska predictably onto the Sombra. They This is probably how they're going to line up.
Yeah. Popular composition, Lunatic-Hai certainly saw that one in Eichenwald as well, but just always fun to see Jaehong's Ana. He's pretty dang good at landing the old sleep darts. But can they hold off MVP Space? MVP Space needing to fully capture both points to get themselves into that tiebreaker situation. Lunatic-Hai wanting to bring themselves to match point here for their first match for Season 4.
In fact, listed Reaper as the second hero that he wanted to prioritize this season, and we saw Reaper on the enemy side. So we will be opening Reaper, much shorter range comp. They don't have the Widowmaker to open that we saw from Eska.
Undone actually getting some cheeky hacks.
He's really deep already.
Yeah. Thankfully, Yaki's in there with him, as Translocator should be able to get Undyne out of here, but really nice pick off onto the mech, as Lee Tae-jun can't stand too far forward, and Miro has to leap his way out once again. It's looking good for MVP Space. Attack on this map, not necessarily one that has been super defensible in the past.
There's almost nothing Lunatic-Hai can do when they lose the mech first and then they lose Eska. The pilot's not going to do anything, so the first 2 ticks should be basically free. Or we see any sort of contest, Miro can try and waste time.
Yep, Grenade was keeping him alive. As decent positioning by Jaehong, but he's going to get healed back up again with a grenade of his own. Miro jumps back out after that nano was utilized on top of him to try and buy some space, but they just can't seem to hold on to these pesky
Toby
heroes.
chased down.
Nicely done. Miro's going to die though.
Yeah, on the point, they're losing out, and there will be the full capture. Zunba gets on, is not in position. Toby was chasing down the kill on the Sombra, so even without the Widowmaker to create pressure, very fast cap for MVP Space.
Yeah, they were looking for some exit frags as well, but there it is. So Jaehong's going to fall, and now that potential snowball could come in. We've almost got Death Blossom. We've got self-destruct there from MVP Space.
We got Talon Comp ready to go, and much earlier because they open Reaper.
This is crazy. Okay, one fact, flying forward. There's the Death Blossom. Not quite getting kills just yet because it's a really, really good use of the defense matrix to keep him alive. Okay, Kuki's going to fall down, but Zumba, that's the self-destruct being thrown in. One fact finally goes down. MVP Space still trying to tick this one up, though. We've got someone sleepy on top of that point right now. Lunatic-Hai should be able to pull this one off, hold off MVP Space, but can they do it for 6 minutes?
MVP Space, too much blood rising there. They thought, okay, we've got it now. The moment that Death Blossom was available, they used it, but there was nobody on the rest of the team to actually back it up, so it ended up just being largely into the barrier and a bit of the health bar of the Winston. So not a great use of the first Death Blossom. One fact will stick on to the Reaper. But the push is repelled, and they also have both support ultimates available. So Eska wants to trade just his Sombra ultimate for another delay in the push, but thwarted on the first attempt.
Yeah. Really nice reaction there from MVP Space, seeing that Eska was trying to make his way in. He does have the EMP available now, as do have another nano going down onto Miro once again from Jaehong, sorry. Tae-jun and Jaehong. It's just a little bit difficult. Lunatic-Hai are repelling MVP Space's aggression. Tae-jun is going to get the exit kills that he was looking for, so Yaki goes down a little bit staggered. MVP Space going to have to pull themselves back together, but 5 minutes to go. I mean, they've got a lot of time to just cruise around.
And they used the nano boost, got the push, and look at Jaehong jumping onto the Mei. He wants the full hold here. They don't want to go into any extra innings on this particular map. Big fan of the Mei on Anubis, we know.
He's just a big fan of the Mei just in general. Just seems to have that accuracy on those right clicks at the same time.
Off screen, already had to use Primal Rage. I guess he was harassed down pretty heavily.
Okay, Undyne as well. He's going to get harassed down himself. One fact has built himself up to that Death Blossom. Throws it down now. Oh, really good wall to stop that from killing the rest of the team. Sound barrier now from Lunatic-Hai to try and keep them up, but Tae-jun is going to fall down. Zumba has the self-destruct. Oh no, sorry, couldn't remech in time. As Eska throws out a desperation EMP, it is going to mean the end of the mech. But can he find any more? Translocates back, thankfully gets his health bar back as well. Jaehong is going to pick up one, but falls for it. Lunatic-Hai wanting to hold on. No ticks available for MVP so far. But at 4 minutes to go, That was almost MVP finding some traction on point B.
They always seem a bit rushed when they finally make it onto point B with any semblance of ultimates. Haven't been a fan of OneFact's use of the Death Blossom so far, and Taejun, great cleanup even without needing the Pulse Bomb. Jaehong putting down the wall, split the damage and meant there wasn't going to be any cleanup on the first true Death Blossom, and he will have that Blizzard, which alone can often hold or claim point B on 2-point capture.
Yeah, pretty easily there as well. Throws out the wall just to block things off as self-destruct comes in. Not super necessary, but...
Look at Jaehong.
Yeah, Jaehong's going to be taken down. He did throw out the Blizzard before falling. Thankfully for Lunatic-Hai, Eska still has the EMP if anything goes awry. And Lunatic-Hai looking like they're holding on quite effectively. It's Kuki that already falls down as Sound Barrier now invested from MVP space. We're so close to a Death Blossom as OneFact throws it down immediately, but see whether it is going to be enough. MVP space still able to get the kills. Miro jumps back onto the point, but can he find too much more is the question. EMP comes in, and Lunatic-Hai going to need another one of these miracle holds.
Still
They are known for.
They still have people on the point. They're still delaying it here. Mech taken out from Zumba. Zumba taken out. Lunatic-Hai fighting back as much as they can.
Yeah, Jaehong actually jumps onto the Doomfist, picks up 2 kills, and eventually falls down. Eska jumps onto that point, but it's just piling in one after the other.
Toby.
Sound barrier there from Toby trying to hold on. But this is ticking up slowly but surely for MVP space on this attack.
Second EMP of just a single attack kills Miro very early.
Yeah, Lee Taejun trying to get the work done, doesn't have a pulse bomb to try and get any sort of AoE damage down, and there's the sound barrier. Feels like the last nail in the coffin. Lunatic-Hai have done better things in the past as Miro is going to respawn, try and get himself onto this point, but we're ticking up slowly but surely. And MVP space, they should be able to do this. They should be able to cap out the point, and they do.
They will have a bigger time bank as well, about 56 seconds longer. We'll see what Lunatic-Hai can do on attack. Will they just return to Eska on the Widowmaker? That question we do not know the answer to. MVP space. First attack worked even though they didn't invest in the Widowmaker. When you go Reaper for point A and get it on the first push, it means you have the Death Blossom. They couldn't turn that into a snowball capture, but they were dogged in their use of the Sombra attack, the Talon attack that we talk about, the Sombra and the Reaper, and eventually it won out. Specifically, they got the mech down for the first time with their third use of the Death Blossom, and even though they had lost a couple of members before, it rung true.
Yeah. And you mentioned time banks. You got an extra minute on the side of MVP space after that more successful push. So well played. Eska, like you mentioned before, is actually going to go back to the Widowmaker potentially. We'll see. And MVP space, the same defensive composition they ran last time.
There's always a bit of chicken when it comes to working out whether a team will run Widowmaker twice on attack, even though Eska, and they found great value out of it on the first attack. Yaki tried to be the one to get a reflect on a shot and actually take him down, but couldn't pressure him and ended up being free for Lunatic-Hai on their first attack, so I could understand returning to it. But MVP space feel like they had the right idea but didn't execute well enough. Let's see if they actually find a way to deal with the Widowmaker.
Well, now OneFact setting himself up, looks for the punch, but doesn't get it onto Taejun.
This is a very aggressive defense.
Oh my goodness, just the uppercut to take down Toby. They do get OneFact for it, but the whole backline now just in shambles for Lunatic-Hai.
But it's a long run back for the Doomfist, and he needs to get onto the point. This sort of thing where Tracer could try to proxy the Doomfist in the back line. Risky, of course, can be swatted down, but...
Yeah, Taejun as well was able to take down Kuki, so decent for Lunatic-Hai, but they have only 25 seconds now to go. As Eska's setting himself up. Feels like they should be able to get onto this point.
So what MVP Space want to do, they're staying as a unit and now diving back onto the point. No points, no checkpoints captured yet.
Looking for the last minute defense as Jaehong's able to take down OneFact, and Fuse is going to get picked off as well. 2 picks to start things off is great news for Lunatic-Hai, and they keep on streaming through. Overtime comes in, but they're halfway through ticking this one up with a man advantage around this point. Some desperation coming in, but that could just be staggered kills now for Lunatic-Hai to take advantage of with their limited time available. Then the completion comes in. Now not a lot of time to push this one forward again. Only 30 seconds to get towards point B and cap that as well.
Yeah, Yaki wasted all of his time trying to shut down the Widowmaker, but only got about 40% charge. Now up to 70. Taejun with the back cap again. Getting free percentage for now. Only now does Lucio notice.
Yep. Does still have the Pulse Bomb available as well, as he gets so much damage onto that mech. This is super important as Transcendence was invested there as well. Esker picking up some kills. They may actually be able to get here. Overtime now ticking down as they want to stay on this point, and they've done it. Sound Barrier even in there to make sure that they can get this one done. QOQ now in Pilot Diva form, not going to be able to do anything to stall out this point. And Primal Rage comes in just to say, get the heck off our point. They've already made it over 2 ticks, which could have almost sealed the deal for them anyway, and that's going to be the completion. My God, they only need a minute and a half, and they get both caps.
Yeah, the roar from the crowd. They started with a single minute, and it was still enough to get the full capture here for Lunatic-Hai. Taejun coming in just as the Transcendence rushed through the center onto point B. MVP Space got too tricky. They adjusted and they pushed forward. Sure, they got both supports, but then Doomfist was out of position, and Genji used all of his time, Yaki, to shut down Esker. Back on the point. They were trading up because Doomfist was never able to get back into the action. They get point A, they get point B, and now the task for MVP Space is anything but straightforward.
Oh yeah, they do have an extra 56 seconds to get it done, but it was looking very difficult. They had, what was it, 6 minutes to get point B, and they still didn't have a lot of time in that bank by the time it was over. So Lunatic-Hai wanting to try and put this one to bed in point A, but do have the option of just waiting. If they wanted to, they could just run all the way back to point B and start things off there, because it still would be very, very difficult for MVP Space to go up against the juggernaut that is Lunatic-Hai.
And MVP Space's attack is very one-note. This is basically saying, if we get the first point capture, we'll try the Death Blossom again and potentially instant double cap. But if the first point fails, if one fact dies with 20% charge on the Reaper, they probably lose the entire game. So they're going all in. This is their shove. You play No Limit Hold'em Poker, you know what they're doing. And see if they can actually find a route to the point, because it is the same attack they ran largely in the first attack.
Well, speaking of route to the point, they do get there. Undyne scouts out everyone's location. They are going to pile in onto point A. Good hack to stop any... Oh, no, not actually quite getting there, but the mech is still going to go down. One fact is the one to put the last bullet in that. And MVP Space looking like this first capture. It's happening once again.
Triple DPS with Diva demeched first is often the killing fields, Atlas, so it's looking hella successful. They're going to get it.
Certainly is. We mentioned that Lunatic-Hai could probably sit back on point B if they wanted to. I wasn't saying that too seriously.
Facetiously, almost.
Yes, I was certainly saying that facetiously. Thank you very much. But still, it is going to take them the first minute to get that one done. Now, a minute and a half to take point B. Lunatic-Hai all the way back down.
Jaehong has jumped on Mei again, but this time I think it's largely about the wall, Atlas. They know the Death Blossom can't be too far away.
And the ice block there as well. So Sound Barrier comes in from MVP Space. They know that they want to get this one done. EMP flies through though for Esker. And could be an opportunity for Lunatic-Hai to get things back. Doesn't look to be the case though, as One Fact getting 3 shots in. Taking down Zumba, just not harassed at all. Death Blossom now going to be here. Throws it out immediately. Undyne's going to fall down to the Pulse Bomb, but is this enough? One Fact, has he managed to get himself onto this point stalwart enough to try and create something here for MVP Space to work with?
He tried to use the Death Blossom to clean up, but it was too early for a cleanup because we're not in overtime. The respawns are short enough that Lunatic-Hai are trying to fight back.
And Jaehong actually blocks himself in this little corridor there as well. So out on the back end, making things work. MVP Space get themselves a Sound Barrier very quickly. Fuse actually, shout outs to him for getting 2 in what feels like 1 fight. And that is the mech dealt with by Jaehong, who's just being a frustration on this Mei once again. One Fact almost up to another Death Blossom as well. He's been able to get auto after auto onto these opponents of Lunatic-Hai because they just haven't been able to move him. Goes into Wraith form now and picks up a health pack and gets back into the fray. The Lunatic-Hai have got a good position.
Now we'll see what happens here. Is the EMP. They have the Death Blossom as well.
Oh my goodness. One Fact does find at least the mech, but Zumba had been able to deal with the one on the side of MVP Space beforehand, but now MVP following it up They jump in.
Miro
Miro's
gets a
actually,
pick.
yeah, he's going to jump onto Doomfist. Grabs one on Diffuse, but that is about it. They're trying to chase these ones down. Overtime has come in, so these respawn time is certainly longer. The tick up is going to start. So MVP space halfway through. They're trying to delay on the side of Lunatic-Hai to get everyone back in here, but it's Zumba that really needs to be able to get onto that point.
Miro actually picks up the ultimate here. That's another delay ult.
Yeah. Massive
Any
opportunity.
pick is golden.
Jumps his way forward. Okay. Hops in round to the side, and Lunatic-Hai have got better position. Blizzard coming in, and QOQ is going to be taken down for that. Self-destruct is only going to be able to pick up a mech. Can Zumba get back into it quickly is the real question, as Yaki going to take down Miro. Jaehong's going to fall as well. So many stall tactics are going to be missing, as Fuse once again going to be the hero that they need. Zumba, self-destruct comes down. And
this delay
whether he
is
can actually
still
get back into
going
the mech.
on.
Yeah.
They have another EMP. It feels like MVP should have this, but a couple of picks for Lunatic-Hai and it's all over.
Yeah, Undyne threw that one in there. So EMP now down on the side of MVP space.
Toby and Jaehong, it's always them.
2 more pickoffs as Toby jumps around the side. He's just being a frustration, and he's staying alive for so long. Another EMP
Toby's
is
a god
Taejon.
again.
Yep, jumping his way through. They are so good at this, are Lunatic-Hai. But is it going to be enough? They've got a Winston back on the point. What is this, Papa Smithy?
This is Lunatic-Hai expertly defending. It still might not be enough. We see another sound barrier for MVP space. Feels like the 5th in the last minute.
Yep, Toby going to get a sound barrier. And Miro doesn't benefit from it, but you've got so many that do. And MVP space desperately trying to hold on, but it's once again Lunatic-Hai with what feels like everyone here. Fuse eventually falls as Taejon going to be the one to do it. Death Blossom, but he was flying through the air. That was a death helicopter from MVP space is one fact. But still, it feels like all of the kills, if they go over to Lunatic-Hai at all, it feels so much better.
They've got all of them. I think they've done it.
MVP space do it. And we are going to go to another tiebreak.
We're going to tiebreakers on this map. Lunatic-Hai, this support duo that's been the cornerstone of all the Team Korea teams, almost got them over the line. Heroics upon heroics for Toby on the Lucio and Jaehong on the Mei, but they couldn't quite do it. Felt like they did when they booped one fact out of the Death Blossom off the point. I thought, okay, they've done it. Almost instantly did the overtime meter time out, but one fact got back on, the shotguns cleaned up, and somehow it always goes to this with Lunatic-Hai. 2-point capture always goes to tiebreakers. This is their 3rd tiebreaker on 2-point capture. I'm not even sure if any other team has had one.
Yeah, there's the death helicopter, and
He's
how
not-
did he get back?
He got knocked off, but he had enough time, and if you watch the percentage as he's chasing down kills, I thought, okay, it's going to be over. But he managed to get back onto the point. The health bars are low. He cleans up. And suddenly, it's a best of 1 to decide who goes 2-1 up.
And it was Kuki as well, diving in onto the point. Got himself there just before the Reaper and had the Reaper there for support for the damage. I thought the double boop, like you mentioned, was going to be enough to get Lunatic-Hai to a position where that overtime was just going to, like you say, immediately evaporate. But now, is it going to be the opportunity for MVP space to fight back like Kongdu Panthera did so many times in the grand final of Season 3? Brought us to that 7th game. Remember, this is for 2-1 in this series. This isn't going to decide a winner or anything just yet. This is really going the distance, and MVP space being able to look so much better for it.
And we're on Lighthouse on Ilios for our overtime match here.
Oh, wow.
Somehow, this always happens with Lunatic-Hai. The high drama never ends. The fans get everything they wanted and more. You'd think they want quick 3-0s, but if I've learned anything about Lunatic-Hai, it's biting your nails until the last final moment is actually the way they play the game.
I feel like it is sort of K-drama whenever Lunatic-Hai is playing.
Lighthouse usually does draw the Pharahs to the yard, and Yaki most likely will be opening Pharah. Eska, predictably, will be on the Sombra, probably. Be a departure to see anything else.
Certainly feels very good for MVP space, just because if they have the opportunity to run the Pharah, doesn't seem to be a lot that Lunatic-Hai have planned for really punishing the pick.
If you're new to Apex in Season 4, this is a best-of-1 tiebreaker onto Lighthouse on Ilios. There will be no more maps after this to decide Temple of Anubis.
Yep, whoever wins this wins Temple of Anubis. I know it looks a little bit different now. We've just gone down to the beach. That's going to be that. As LeeTaeJun just hanging out on this point, trying to get that back cap. Almost jumps off the edge, unfortunately, but should be able to get himself back there, and thankfully Rewind helps him out.
They're fighting on the point. No opening kills yet. About a minute into Lighthouse.
Yeah, it has been Lunatic-Hai that's been able to get these
Extended fights where Undyne can get free healing might be the difference, and first capture actually comes from MVP space as Lunatic-Hai surrendered it.
Yeah. One fact, able to grab Miro there as well, so it will be Lunatic-Hai having to give them a little bit of room before going for this retake. It has to feel.
Eska has to be so on point with the EMPs to catch, at minimum, you'd say, D.Va and also Mercy in the AoE. It's hard to do, but they're really freely surrendering percentage to Undyne and to Yaki on the Pharmacy because they just don't have answers to it.
Yeah, and Yaki is really threading these rockets nicely as well. You saw him just hanging around that small corridor. Feels highly unanswerable.
All right, let's watch for the EMP. Eska's usually on point with these. Doesn't get the hack yet. Also denied the hack onto the D.Va.
Yep, trying to find something here. It's okay. Winston gonna safely make his way over everything, and Lunatic-Hai finally able to pick up some kills, but LeeTaeJun gonna be taken down.
Yeah, Yaki punches him in the face. That's not normally the Pharah move.
No. It's not what you expect. Might be why he wasn't ready for it, as Rocket Barrage just goes straight into the back of the D.Va. Almost punished by the self-destruct. Unfortunately, unable to lock that one in there, but it is going to be Miro who deals with the entire support crew. And there's a double pulse bomb to answer it on the side of One Fact. Yaki takes a little bit of a rest as Jaehong comes back with the Ana.
Diagonal sleep, because he got slept during the rocket jump, jumping up with the boosters. So now, Lunatic-Hai have to reform. They haven't been able to pick up Flip Up ever since they largely surrendered the first capture. They don't necessarily have the most to work with either. Eska on the Soldier. They've given up on the Sombra. That hasn't worked for them.
And I know you like to talk about flipping the script, and I feel like this is exactly what MVP Space are doing, heading towards what could be a 99-0 for themselves, as they are diving super far forward. Eska has to be careful. He's going to be taken down.
On the point, though, we see Eska there, but actually dealt with by Fuse. It's LeeTaeJun.
Okay. Yaki takes a fair bit of damage, gets himself out, will get healed back up. One Fact being frustrating, being annoying. And there's the boop off. Good jump up from Miro, who's pretty dang good at surviving.
Boops are so important, especially if you can get boops onto MVP Space, because then they can't be rezzed.
Yep, Zumba actually expertly gets himself back into the mech after that self-destruct, but it's the double revive from Undyne as we're into overtime for the 99-0 cap-off. But it's so close for Lunatic-Hai to get this flip. LeeTaeJun trying to do what he can, jumping himself around the side, wants the pick on to Yaki, but I'm not sure whether he can do it, and that's it. MVP Space are going to take the assault map, and it's going to have to be once again Lunatic-Hai bringing us all 5 games if they are going to take this one.
And you can hear a pin drop in the audience because the massive, overwhelming crowd favorites are finding themselves 2-1 down. Went to all 5 maps against Kongdu Panther to open up Season 3 of Apex for Lunatic-Hai. MVP Space have not made the same level of adjustments. There isn't the same names that leap off the page, even if there are reliable players that have largely been around the scene for a long time. And suddenly Lunatic-Hai once again find themselves with their backs against the wall, undone by Control, which has been an old ghost for them.
Certainly has. Oh man, not what we were expecting at all, but what an incredible performance from MVP Space. I have to say, One Fact has been extremely impressive. Unsurprisingly, we are going to have the tactical pause from Lunatic-Hai, as there are still smiles on the faces of all of these players. They don't seem very fazed by losses until a series is actually completed.
Always Uve, their coach, coming in. He's seen this before. Lunatic-Hai aren't one for the faint of hearts. We talked about that earlier in the series. 3-0s aren't their way. It's always the full 5 to 7 games, depending on the format. Talking to a lot of these veterans who spent the last few weeks traveling with Team Korea.
Yeah.
Also with other responsibilities, and it is a different roster. It's been a long time since TaeJun was in the roster, made a bit of a flub. He did actually play the first game of Season 2 before he stepped away and had his short retirement or step away from Overwatch. It's been decent, but hasn't necessarily been. it's very hard to rate him in isolation. He's had certainly some great moments. If you think
Yeah.
back to Nepal, he's closed things out, but there are other moments where it feels like a player transitioning back from a different type of competitive environment to the absolute fireplace that is Apex. Whereas on the side of MVP Space, everything's going better than expected for them. Able to pick up, I guess, Temple of Anubis via Ilios, the way you look at it. Going on to Escort, Dorado been the big pick, but earlier today we had our first Route 66 of the season. Smiles abound for MVP Space, but still a lot of a journey to travel. I think we might be going a long time on this series, Atlas.
Yeah, I feel like now banking on an MVP Space closeout would certainly be a little bit of folly. Certainly a possibility, but it's not where the smart money is by any means. I'm glad that you spoke about Taejun and just what it means for him, because he has been successful, and what does coordination necessarily spell when it comes to playing Tracer as well? Because what you're trying to do is generally cause a ruckus in the backline. It often is a bit disjointed, but it felt like when they were really pulling a trigger, they didn't necessarily have the reliability of someone on the exact same page.
And if you look at Lee Taejun's Tracer, absolutely. The only way you can look at it is trying to cause a ruckus in the backline. We've seen him dueling in the backline for the majority of the game, but I wouldn't necessarily call Guido that type of Tracer. He was the more defensive Tracer, focused on breaking the mechs, focused on killing the Winstons, rather than diving the backline. You think all the way back to Nepal, it was a lot of Lee Taejun playing cat and mouse in the backline, and that wasn't how they were playing in Season 3 with Guido. So it's another evolution, it's another change. The crowd amused by the fact that Mira, for once, not with a wide smile on his face, a bit more subdued. It is, once again, a little bit of difference from Lunatic-Hai, even though Tracer was always going to be the hero we were going to see from Lee Taejun.
Yeah. And now do they switch it up? Is it going to be Miro once again playing something like the Doomfist? Not entirely sure.
I mean, he largely jumped on that to contest point B because
that's
you're
sort of
so
thing,
likely to hit rocket punches when everyone's in such close quarters. That opening on Doomfist is a possibility for Miro. I don't think we'll see that. Don't think there's going to be any roster changes either, so it's on the 6 to close out this series over MVP Space. You're just joining us. Lunatic-Hai is 2-1 down to the newly revitalized MVP Space.
Yeah, MVP Space really impressing. I believe we will be seeing a map that involves being able to fly around on Afara if they can, because Yaki has been very impressive on that pick, not to mention Undyne when he can get his hands on the Mercy. The reses have certainly been something that MVP Space have been able to capitalize on, and not a lot of answers seem to be there. For Lunatic-Hai, it's going to be Watch Point Gibraltar.
I like this choice. What Lunatic-Hai have experienced this map. We played it in the Apex Season 3 final cast, that one between Kongdu Panthera and Lunatic-Hai. The famous defense where we saw the nano boost onto the Zenyatta, played by Toby, was on this map. So they're going to be looking for a pretty aggressive hold. They wanted to avoid Dorado because you get maximum value on Dorado from the Farah because you can go all the way around and force really difficult decisions if you attack point A from behind on that Farah. So Gibraltar's almost a Lunatic-Hai special at this point. It'll be fun to see them on this map.
Yeah, some opportunities to utilize the Farah on Gibraltar, but not as many options.
Because even if you roll through point A, it's not a great fit for the hangar phase.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You don't get the maximum value like you do on the streets phase of Dorado.
Yeah, feels like it's only the streets phase that is a problem here for that pharmacy comp. But let's see whether they do it anyway as we hop over to Watch Point Gibraltar for what could be the final map of the night.
I get it.
Lunatic fans, a little bit quieter than we're used to, Atlas. Certainly quieter than on the first 3 maps of the day.
Yeah.
It's 10:30 local time in Korea.
One.
They'll be in full voice if Lunatic-Hai can win Gibraltar and draw us to a map 5, which will be hybrid.
And also, map that MVP Space were able to take against Lunatic-Hai earlier. Not Sure they'll be able to pick that Eichenwald once again as one fact.
Can't pick Eichenwald, and they're not going to pick Kings Row, you'd imagine, if they have the choice. So would probably be something like Hollywood, you'd imagine. Maybe Numbani.
Yeah, depending on who's going to have the choice, I feel like Lunatic-Hai, a likely Hollywood.
But if Lunatic-Hai have the choice, then they lost Atlas and they're out.
Oh, that's true.
So
that would be impossible.
Exactly. No best of sevens today. That was the story with the last time Lunatic-Hai played. Sky on attack. Probably going to stick with the Sombra that they found lower value than in recent history. Doomfist was a factor in the earlier maps, but no Doomfist, of course. The much longer sight lines on Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Well, Eska is going to be able to grab that first hack. And that bottom big health back, so he's threading his way through. Not a heck of a lot of defense put up so far from MVP space.
I mean, the moment that you know the health pack has been hacked, you don't want to fight down there anymore. So you do have to give up the bridge for free, effectively.
It is the more defensible location here in this point, and with this composition that MVP Space have put together for themselves, the get behind one fact as he has control of this high ground type comp. Certainly an opportunity as finally MVP Space drop themselves down. Kuki trying to keep himself in this one. Barrier in answer from Lunatic-Hai just to try and stop one fact from getting free damage, but Kyoku already getting out of the mech. Some opportunities now for Lunatic-Hai to get themselves forward.
They get fused as well. Jaehong snipes him from across the map solo on the Zenyatta.
Bit of a heroic play coming out from Kuki though, as he was able to get rid of the entire backline without the heals available. It's MVP Space getting themselves a bit more space.
Yeah, heroic is the right word because they're going to come back with Undine and Fuse both close to their ultimates. So both support ultimates were denied with the scenario where we were at. Now they have their tank line in position. They have to once again find a way to take out Fuse. Being pretty aggressive, frontlining with the Mercy a little bit.
Yep. One fact holding on to that tack visor here as well as Jaehong has to use the Transcendence, not in a position anywhere near the payload. As Eska gets his way in, Taejon going to be able to take down Kuki, and Fuse going to go before he's able to utilize the res. Nicely played by Lunatic-Hai on this attack, and one fact didn't even get to use the tack visor because there were too many dead, and that's going to be the first point so easily taken by Lunatic-Hai.
AMP positioning that I believe caught Kuki and Fuse in the same AoE and meant no Primal Rage and no Mercy Res. They have to surrender point A. Point A on Gibraltar is one of the hardest to assault. So that is a win there for Lunatic-Hai. A lot of ults available for space, but the hangar phase here can be very interesting to gauge, and when to use your ultimates up for debate on defense.
Yeah, defensibility of these points is something that's always under question, but Yaki's going to be able to grab the first kill. Lee Taejun going to offer one back as one fact throws out the ult. He's just looking to try and do battle here with Taejun, who's just being so frustrating. Eats up almost a full ultimate with one fact trying to spin around and hit him. Yaki's eventually able to take him down, but is that worth the tack visor is the question. Oh, nice pick up there by Kyoku.
Trying to come and contest the payload that crucially wasn't pushing during all of the action we were watching. Lunatic-Hai were having to dive pretty far just to get out of the firing line, and that meant there weren't enough people on the point. Jaehong sticking on the Zenyatta, of course.
Yeah, but Undyne does have himself a nano boost on the Ana. Actually throws that one down, I believe.
It's on the Winston, of course.
Yeah, the Angry Monkey flying his way forward. Yaki rewinds his way back to being healthy as Taejon's going to grab one fact on the backline. This actually could be huge because that high ground threat available from the Soldier is so important. But Yaki's doing a lot of work just softening up this backline.
And it's time for Lunatic-Hai to go for the front door. They have the Transcendence available. The dive worked, but it only took out the Soldier. Got them some meterage, but certainly no surrendering of the cart. Tracking Zunba right now.
Still close to 3 minutes here for Lunatic-Hai.
Well, that actually takes out Mira. That could be critical. Zunba might as well pull back. He might have the self-destruct, but they don't have the Winston advantage. They do draw out Primal Rage.
Yeah, and one fact is actually so fast at building up this ult charge. Again, tack visor is available, and Eska was taken down by a Helix rocket, of all things, before he could get himself out with any sort of translocator. That was very confusing.
Just weird that Miro and Zunba have actually been a little bit off when it comes to communications here. Mira dying solo to the soldier was a very surreal thing to see.
Well, another nano boost onto Kuki as well, but he's taking a lot of damage as he dives forward. Okay, one fact, throwing out the attack visor, but again, it's not in a position that he really is able to get much done. Kyokyu taken down by Eska, and Lee Tae-jun gets rid of Yaki. It's almost against the flow of ultimates.
They want to trace down the Lucio, who will try to hang back and bring back the rest of the members of Space for a last-second contest. The cards pushing very fast in this area. We'll see Kyokyu dive down. They do get the sound barrier to delay, though.
Yep, very nicely done. Yaki's moving his way in there as well, but the kills are in favor of Lunatic-Hai as they push their way forward. Eska feels like he sacrifices himself, and Zumba gets demech. Jaehong falls down as well. Some opportunities now. Zumba, decent self-destruct, gets rid of Kyokyu, and finally some control being regained by Lunatic-Hai as they push towards point B. And inevitably point C here as well. Lunatic-Hai's attack on Gibraltar certainly looking good.
Yeah, stalled for a second time, but eventually completed the 3 kills. Lucio not able to really bring anyone up, and they had to use the sound barrier in emergency fashion just to delay the capture on point B. Now we're point around the bend for the final point. Again, potentially defensible, and 2 minutes 20 isn't a fountain of time. Third time we've seen the dive in with the boosted monkey.
Yeah, they're actually hyper-aggressive as Kuki's going to throw out his Primal Rage, try and get this one back under their control defensively. One fact with the tack visor, but not able to find too much joy as far as targets. And Eska right into this backline, finds himself another EMP.
One Diva.
And everyone's diving in. Yeah, the mech's taken down. Kyokyu says, well, that's a little bit unfair. I couldn't do my buttons.
It's a big mistake from Kuki. They boosted him and he judged the jump poorly. Jumped too far and got no value at all from Primal Rage and also the nano boost. Didn't occupy time, didn't delay the cart, complete waste. And that's why we're knocking on the full completion for Lunatic-Hai.
Yeah, Kyokyu actually gets booped away as Lunatic-Hai gets sound barriered up to try and get this last few meters. They are so close. Yaki gets the pulse bomb kill onto Jaehong. This could be an opportunity as One Fact hops onto the Doomfist for the defense. We've seen this be effective in the past, but he's going to have a heroic performance to hold this one off. Still only a minute to go, though. Lunatic-Hai, not without all the time in the world to try and get this completion.
Feel good about what they already managed to put together, but surely the full completion is what they are shooting for. One serious attack left. They will have Transcendence available, because they probably will need it to be able to get back onto the cart. So many sightlines that can be abused by MVP Space on the defense.
Yep, sound barrier is there now for MVP Space, though, so one each as far as support ultimates are concerned.
Tae-jun on Soldier is definitely a bit of a shift. He's jumped off the Tracer for one of the first times tonight.
Yep. In fact, it's definitely the first time tonight, apart from Hovers, is there's another nano to boost Kuki into the backline, but he's getting smashed around. And the Transcendence to answer that ultimate certainly going to work out, but that's going to be the punch by One Fact. Picks up a double and gets his way out. We've complimented his Doomfist in the past, and could this be the undoing of Lunatic-Hai as the cart's still moving backwards? One Fact got to be a little bit careful as he charges up that punch to get himself out.
Will have to be a last-second contest from Lunatic-Hai. I think they're back on the cart. They already have Miro primarily raged. Trying to get on the cart. They use the EMP. They get a couple of picks. Both tanks are dead.
And we're very close to that overtime, making sure that MVP Space not going to have the respawns to come in quickly enough.
No one's on the cart.
Yeah, no one's anywhere near it, as Fuse is going to be jumping around, but still going to get taken out. One Fact very quickly dealt with, as finally someone's able to get onto this point. Kyokyu doing some work, but Lee Tae-jun has the attack visor and should be able to get rid of everyone here. That's the full completion in overtime for Lunatic-Hai. And MVP Space, a tough ask to get that cart the whole way down Watch Point Gibraltar.
The defensive formation worked for so long on point C there for MVP Space, but when it came apart at the seams, it did in massive fashion. They had no one on the cart pushing through. Ana and Lucio had to drop down. That wasn't really going to get any sort of joy, so full completion does come through from Lunatic-Hai in overtime, I believe. MVP Space getting the full push against Gibraltar is a very tough ask, attacking second. But that's what they need if they're going to be able to push us in any further on map 4 and deny map 5. And we know very well that the win rate for Lunatic-Hai, if you go to map 5 or map 7 on a best of 5 or a best of 7, it's damn high.
Yeah, I feel like the win rate as well, if Lunatic-Hai are facing against a team that has match point, is also ludicrously high. It's just feels very, very difficult to close out a series versus this team, which does make sense because they're two-time champions here at Apex. Doesn't involve a lot of losing. You're going to be the best team in the league.
This is the same defense we so frequently see. Usually Jae-Hong, the master of Zenyatta, but Ana is a must-run on defense on point A of Watch Point Gibraltar. Toby goes on to the Zenyatta here. Both of them abusing the long sightlines. I'd love to see another boosted robot here getting onto the Zenyatta. That was one of the coolest parts of Watch Point Gibraltar play here at Apex.
The boosty orbs?
Something like that.
I wouldn't know what the...
I avoid talking about puns with the name there because we could go to dangerous territory. I wonder if One Fact will open on Doomfist. Has a lot of gap close to be able to jump up. We very rarely see things like Genji open up onto Gibraltar because it's so hard to actually close the distance even with mobility.
Well, it looks like One Fact does want to start off on this Doomfist. We'll need to get healed back up though because he took a bit of a beating as he hopped in. Yaki pushed off this high ground.
It's a very aggressive defense in Lunatic-Hai. If you remember, MVP Space were forced to completely give up the bridge because the health pack was hacked by Sombra. They didn't want to fight against it.
Yeah, they moved very far back, but Yaki here getting a little bit of work done here in the back line, forces the Diva over as Lunatic-Hai suffering some casualties. It's only Kuki that they've lost in the meantime, and Zumba gets demech'd. It's the double as far as the Divas are concerned. One Fact taking both of them down, and Yaki wreaking havoc in the back line, gets rid of the Zenyatta of Toby. This could be a very quick completion as MVP Space got those kills at exactly the right time as far as where that cart was located.
Miro can drop down.
Okay, Barrier keeping himself alive there as well, but everyone on MVP Space is here, and Miro has the Primal Rage, so still buying time and space, but there is not a lot of space that card has before moving forward, and MVP Space do have Undyne with the Transcendence to get the work done. And they once again deal with Zumba very quickly.
But we do see Eska able to track down with the Tac Visor the one kill to start this off, so not guaranteed yet. They're pushing really hard, a meter 50 away.
Yeah. Miro, the boosted monkey, actually coming in, but does feel like MVP Space are still in control. Zumba does respawn, trying to get himself over, will get demech'd once more as MVP Space throw out the self-destruct. They pick up Miro with it against what feels like the flow of play, and they will cap out that first point that we mentioned previously when Lunatic-Hai were pushing forward is so important, are also going to be able to claim those follow-up kills. Lunatic-Hai were also able to get.
Yeah, the Doomfist got a lot of value. As it closed out, Doomfist went down to the Soldier 76, and I thought maybe they'd be stalled out, and they used so much to get a meter out. It would have been crushing if Lunatic-Hai were able to repel the push. They weren't. Now they have to set up a formation pretty shallow, given that they died so late in the contest. Cart already pushed up. Seeing Lee-Tae-Jun dive down.
Yeah, One Fact was trying to be the boogeyman waiting in the corner behind the door as Lee-Tae-Jun dives forward and picks up a kill, I believe. It was actually Yaki that got some joy with his pulse bomb. Getting a bit confused on which Tracer's getting the work done because Yaki really has stepped up.
And that was Lunatic-Hai diving down with Miro with Primal Rage and Taejun in position, but they couldn't find any joy at all from the Primal Rage. Miro just backs away, and yeah, it's going to be basically a free push all the way through the street space until now.
Yeah, they're trying to go for this last-minute contest. Does make a lot of sense. Jae-Hong throws out the grenade, but the Transcendence comes in there. One Fact just diving onto this point, but maybe a little bit late as Lunatic-Hai, they do pick up the kill with the self-destruct onto Yaki, but Eska, he was taken down most importantly before any of that really happened. Another boosted monkey to get some control back here for Lunatic-Hai, but One Fact diving in, does have the extra shielding now available from that passive to get him healthy and to get these kills coming in for MVP Space.
One Fact's just beasting it on the cart. There are two left, and he could just ult them down. Doesn't even need the ult.
Nah, he just right-clicks and punches, and man, making this Doomfist look like it's required for anyone that's playing Overwatch at the moment. It's Lunatic-Hai pushed off that point.
Lunatic-Hai, over the course of the season, prepares so well against the meta. They would have known that Doomfist was around the corner, but for now they have been ineffective largely at dealing with the Doomfist, who has been a lot of the advantages for MVP Space, brawling around the cart insanely with all the constant rocket punches. Now just going to launch the ult. He wants Jaehong again.
Yep, he's just going to put the ult down right on top of him. Can he get there? As there's the punch. Oh, trying to get in close, but he just gets
Jaehong
punched.
wins it.
Yeah, straight up into the air, and Eska peeling back for his support does get that work done as Miro. He's going to dive forward. Primal Rage is certainly there, but remember, Papa Smithy, I'm talking really excited like this is near the end. We've still got 4 minutes to go for MVP Space to get this push when Lunatic-Hai were well and truly in overtime when they took the point the first time around.
We'll get a second chance at pushing if anything happens, because of course no time with no meter, which meant they would instantly lose.
Yep.
But it will be a big time bank advantage if they can get it in the next couple of minutes. One Fact takes down Jaehong first.
Yeah, gonna get that revenge. One Fact does eventually fall though as Toby grabs that kill back, so revenge gained, but this cart's still moving forward. Kyoku in a bit of a diva battle as Yaki's able to take down Lee-Tae-jun.
Right at Fuse, who has hung back for
Yaki.
the sound barriers so many times.
Yaki is just claiming so much of this damage. It is going to be Toby utilizing his ult, but he gets punished for it almost immediately afterwards. Tac visor there for Taejun when he comes back in, but Zumba, he's in a lot of trouble. Hops should be able to hop back in the mech and does. Desperately trying to find some control here on Lunatic-Hai. They are very, very close to this time bank being quite large for MVP Space.
Take a half breath though. MVP Space were forced back at least. They have no Primal Rage. They do have the Meteor Strike. The One Fact has basically point and clicked on Jaehong every single time he's been able to. It failed last time though as Jaehong got the peel. Eventually he was killed in that.
Whoa!
One Fact's just dead.
Yeah, Taejun's just going to grab him with a Helix Rocket. It's almost like he was trying to bait but didn't get heals in time as MVP Space. They will need to back away. That could actually be a huge deal because that is going to eat into MVP Space's time so much. Could have cost them almost an entire push.
Taejun gets to go back to the high ground. They didn't need to use anything. That's the biggest factor there, Atlas, is that instant pick. Suddenly, MVP Space would defuse. They couldn't get anything from this push, and Kuki's now dead as well. That's more time wasted for MVP Space.
Yep, Lunatic-Hai getting these singular picks is so important. Still requires one successful push, feels like, for MVP Space to get this work done.
Do you just open with the Meteor Strike? It's risky, but that's the no-frills way of not getting picked as you come around the corner. One Fact would prefer not to, so taking the most roundabout way, looking for an instant kill. They get one.
Yeah, immediately onto Eska. Now they have the Transcendence to fly through as well. One Fact, can he find the targets that he's looking for with the Meteor Strike when he eventually puts it down as Toby? He's just getting hunted by this Doomfist Seismic Slam.
Off the cart,
helps
though.
take it down with Kuki. Up in there as well. Eska wanting to find an EMP, but one of those dangerous times where does he have the follow-up to get the work done?
Taejun.
Okay, really nicely done. Taejun, massive damage with the Tac visor. All too easy when there's no options as far as answer with the EMP on top.
Yeah, EMP into Nano Visor was needed, so that's 3 ultimates used to repel that push. Does mean that if MVP Space is to claim this, it's probably going to be an overtime, and One Fact notices that he needs to adjust, and he actually jumps onto Widowmaker for now. This is very risky, given that he can't contest the cart with Widowmaker like you can with Doomfist, relying on Yaki and Co. to make things happen. They need to dive, use Primal Rage, and have One Fact God mode on the Winston, on the Widowmaker.
And he really needs to get something from this straight away as well, as otherwise he could be in a lot of trouble, and already he is. Really good defense coming out on the side of MVP Space to keep One Fact alive, but now the surprise certainly no longer there for this Widowmaker, and the position is available for Lunatic-Hai to get themselves away and sort this one out. Overtime now comes in. Eska taken out by One Fact. They have the man advantage, and Miro's able to take down Undyne, so it was a man advantage for a very short time.
No support ultimates here. And you can see One Fact being proxied by multiple people. Now it's the Winston.
Okay, throws out the ultimate, knows exactly where everyone is. Yeah, Miro just looking for One Fact, will be able to find him, but is it going to be enough? Lunatic-Hai get the kills back. This should be the defense, and we should be going to a game number 5. Lunatic-Hai, Watchpoint Gibraltar has always been a good look for them, and It got a little bit scary in the middle there, but it was still a victory for Lunatic-Hai, bringing us to match point.
They got the huge cheers from the Lunatic-Hai fans. I feel like going with the Widowmaker was so risky because they came in late. They knew that Sombra would have a fairly advanced position. And the moment that the Widowmaker was harassed down by first the Sombra, then the Winston, we're never going to get maximum value from it because they weren't losing on the cart while Widowmaker was being harassed. And they didn't open up with the Primal Rage on the cart until Widowmaker was in position. So disjointed. Bit of fun there from Miro. We're going to map 5, we're going to hybrid. Choice is available for MVP Space. They chose Eichenwald and won that one. But this time it really feels like they're only playing with 2 maps.
Yeah, I feel like Numbani probably would be the option. I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel like there are any real good options.
I feel like Hollywood is the best map for Doomfist because on point A especially, you can get matched the value. Getting a full hold against Doomfist on Hollywood, almost impossible. So my guess would be Hollywood. I think you avoid King's Row at any opportunity. Well, let's see what MVP Space decide.
Okay. Man, it would be rolling the dice. And Hollywood it is. Prophet Papa Smithy going to be correct.
Live by the sword, die by the sword. Feels like Doomfist got them 4 maps in Atlas. Why not roll the dice one last time?
Yep, exactly right. I'm certainly excited to see what Lunatic-Hai have prepared for Hollywood as well, because it is one of those maps where you can change up the strategy. MVP Space have been the ones to really make the Doomfist work though, and I feel like this series is still up in the air just based on how Hollywood works and the fact that it does reward you for being that Doomfist team.
Well, we thought it would be a potential 3-0-3-0 day, and guys, if you joined us today for Apex, it was nothing but action. 3-1 in our first series with Metabellum looking so much better than before. And now Lunatic-Hai thought they'd have a walk in the park, a bit of a homecoming for the champions. Wasn't anything but that. We're on a 5th map, and like you say, MVP Space could take this.
They certainly could. Hollywood going to bring us to map number 5 in our final map. All the Lunatic-Hai you could ever want. Let's get there.
I get it.
Okay, here we are. Match point for both teams. Game number 5. A phrase that I didn't think I would be uttering today at all. But MVP Space have had a very, very good performance.
How you doing there, one fact?
Yeah, there we
As
are.
famous Bastion ran this on King's Row last season. Only Bastion we really saw, apart from some...
And was successful.
It's true. Well, I mean, they lost the series, but...
Yeah, but they won that game. Or at least
And we
secured
sometimes...
that push.
And we must mention that we sometimes do see the Bastion on right near the end of King's Row. You can run it on defense, but one fact might actually be running Tracer on this map. It seems like Yaki is the preferred Sombra player.
Certainly looked like it on Temple of Anubis,
Oh.
as we are going to have a slight pause. Okay, is it Esker with the problem, or did we just check out Esker immediately to
He's
start
their
things
captain, so it's probably a Lunatic-Hai problem at least. Mm-hmm. We'll wait and see if we get any information to relay to you guys.
Or are we going to hop back forward?
I like to think that Sombra hacked the game, and that's why we have a pause. But a quick
Okay,
start,
we're just
so-
going to hop back in again. Okay.
just building the tension, letting the viewers come in for the final map.
Well, what is Lunatic-Hai going to attack with this time? That is the question I have.
Well, the Sombra Tracer part, I think you can more than pencil in when it's Esker and Tajin opening up.
Yep. Jaehong's going to actually switch over to his Zenyatta this time.
Meanwhile, very disconnected from all that. We see very fast push up by Tajin.
Just trying to get those flanking maneuvers. Does immediately get himself out quite nicely. Esker going to find himself position as he does get behind enemy lines. QOQ. Oh, there it is. That's the go button. They're looking for the mech to start this one off, and they'll get it. As well as the barrier immediately evaporates,
Tanks
and
are gone.
Kuki going to follow. Really nicely played from Lunatic-Hai. They are not messing around when it comes to match point.
I just love Eska's use of terrain there. He didn't have forever to be invisible, but just hid behind the pillar, got his target he wanted. It's going to be a aggressive Sombra ult as well to stop the last second contest. It's only Tracer on the point. Should be point A, easy capture for Lunatic-Hai.
Just stunning. Eska orchestrating that whole thing. As soon as the hack completes onto the D.Va, it's just dead.
And I'm sure if you ask Lunatic-Hai fans, Eska, just like the animation with the hack, is a bit of the puppet master, right? Trying to pick the targets that you start off with, and certainly sometimes it goes swimmingly, sometimes it goes poorly. Twitch chat knows what I'm talking about.
In Eska we trust.
Well, that time
Or
that time the puppet master was able to pull it off, and very swift start for Eska.
Yep.
So they've got the EMP this time for Yaki.
Yeah, they're actually looking to try and grab a D.Va mech of their own. It's going to take a while to get Zumba, but they do eventually take that one down. Kuki going to be able to be the one delivered that, but he's able to get answered. Zumba in the pilot D.Va form gets some revenge. Oh, nicely played by One Fact. Trying to assert some dominance in the Tracer v Tracer.
Kart is moving throughout all of this as well.
Yeah.
Be noted.
Like the picks are coming in for MVP space, but they're not necessarily meaning too much.
And they're not even able to chase down Zunba, who's able to remech, no longer in pilot form.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little bit late on the Transcendence engage from MVP Space. They do immediately throw in the sound barrier as well, but Undyne, despite that, is still going to fall. Yaki as well. MVP Space just melting against this aggression from Lunatic-Hai. They're going to be able to clean up very well at the same time.
Yeah, maximum value out of the EMP compared to the one that was attempted by MVP Space. They're going to probably only be a last-second contest, if anything, from MVP Space.
Should still be able to make it towards this last point as Yaki's switched back over to his beloved Pharah. Undyne going to join him here on the pharmacy composition. There's the dive in, but already very, very low. Does have to use that Primal Rage quite early in the piece here. Does Kuki.
Primally raged as well.
Oh, I love your use of the name verbs. The noun verbs, Papa Smithy, it's fantastic. And Lunatic-Hai, they are actually able to get some kills against what feels like the ult usage on the side of MVP Space, and Undyne punished immediately, didn't have the res. Yaki, he's still up but unable to get that boosted damage and doesn't have a Winston, doesn't have anything. That's going to be that. Lunatic-Hai just looking like they're strolling towards a victory now against MVP Space.
Yeah, no threat onto Eska. He started off the fight with a lot of hacks until Winston changed and looked in his direction and fired off the lasers to at least stop the hacks from coming through. MVP Space, what are they going to choose for their last defense here? Yaki going to be jumping onto the Genji, interestingly.
One Fact very close to a Pulse Bomb. I was expecting him to possibly move over to something like a Doomfist with some more enclosed space available here in this last phase.
Usually when you see a Genji swapped over, it's because you have all the ults on the rest of the divers. They don't really have that MVP space, so they need time to get the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, just an Eaton Pulse Bomb, though, is not what One Fact really wanted to utilize with that last bit of space. And Lunatic-Hai, despite everything elsewhere on the map, are just wreaking havoc against MVP Space.
Not a fan of the Genji in this scenario, and they're going to give up a lot of free meterage. They're going to need time to get the Dragon Blade. As Lite Jones is trying to proxy people coming back from spawn.
Yeah, it does have this Pulse Bomb as well, as that it's going to be very sad Zenyatta, but doesn't get the stick. So thankfully Undyne is going to survive that one. Transcendence just to try and put the last nail in this coffin for MVP Space. Lunatic-Hai playing so far up. They get themselves another mech, but it is going to be the self-destruct before that. Kyoku is going to be able to pick up Lite Jun. One Fact going to fall is Jaehong. Some well-placed orbs from this Zenyatta.
He's able to dash down Toby. Will actually be a Dragon Blade being built up. I thought they might get a snowball capture here, Lunatic-Hai, but good resilience from Space. Goal now for Lunatic-Hai is to find a way to blow these support ultimates. They've got time. They don't need to push on the next attempt. 3 minutes left.
And remember, Lunatic-Hai have been able to grab pushes like these against 6 ultimates in overtime. We've seen that before, but now they're still able to get even more work done. This is going to be the D.Va going. Spells Yaki's time to go in with the Dragon Blade, but he's unable to find anything. One Fact in the back end, though, he's able to get some joy here for MVP Space, and Lunatic-Hai might get punished.
Seems that the divers were profiting to the maximum. Tajan's so low. Able to snap back, but only half health.
Still feeling like he has to go aggressive over to the side. Probably doesn't want to get picked off, but Yaki, he is Miro diving forward, gets the work done, and Taejun,
Mech's
despite
down as
that
well.
low health bar, yeah, Fuse is going to get taken. They get a mech, and this could be it. Lunatic-Hai pushing forward once again. Getting so many picks. Self-destructed by the space. Undyne is not the one that you want protecting your point, especially when you don't have a Transcendence. And almost as if he's taunting him, Jaehong throws down his ult. They pick up all the kills in the world. The sound barrier's in there. Feels like a matter of time. Kyoku's trying to buy it, but is it going to be enough? Booped off. They have .3. That's going to be that. And that's the full push for Lunatic-Hai.
And that's good time bank as well, about a minute 50 in reserve for Lunatic-Hai. And is it the old story again, Atlas? Seems to happen every time we go to extra innings that Lunatic-Hai open strong on map 5. They're in a great position to close things out. And MVP Space, with their adjustments in lineup, we don't really have any sort of idea how they look like in high-pressure scenarios. Why I'm hoping that when we get to the best-of-7 phase, we get to see an unchanged Kongdu Panthera or an unchanged or largely unchanged Luxury Watch Blue against Lunatic-Hai, because so often when we get to the 5th game, to the 7th game, it's people with their debut in high pressure, and how can you look past Lunatic-Hai, who have done this so many times?
Yeah, and they just get so much better when it comes to that high-pressure situation. We saw it immediately at the beginning of Season 3 up against Kongdu Panthera. They were down 2 maps almost immediately in that series, and then from that point on, it feels like it's almost a guaranteed victory for Lunatic-Hai.
Seems like we might have a short delay here, guys. We're focusing on the MVP booth.
Yeah, Cookie.
No insight there.
Yeah, may have some sort of problem, but we are in the dark, as it were. Oh, bathroom break. This is what happens when we've been here for quite some time.
Giving a little bit of thought to the players. Something in the water these days with the bathroom breaks. It's a Korean esports epidemic.
Oh no. Our Korean esports players need to use the bathroom.
Yep.
Whatever's going wrong.
I don't know.
It's almost as if they're human.
Don't drink water, Cookie. You might need to go to the bathroom.
I'm actually holding water right now. I'm actually feeling worried about drinking it because I might need to get a pause so that I
We
can
don't get
go to the
pauses,
bathroom.
sadly. I'd have to solo cast.
Some people would probably be okay with that.
Beautiful tracking.
Crunchy peanut butter. Remember the crunchy peanut butter.
Well, we're in the 5th map. We've had a tiebreaker once already today. We're in the 2nd attacking phase, and now we have this extra little time. So we're going to go into the wee hours. It's actually almost 11 p.m. Korean Standard Time, so
Yeah.
going long for an Overwatch broadcast.
Likely to be after midnight before we get back home, Papa Smithy. Not necessarily what we were expecting, but certainly is a treat to see MVP Space making this such an interesting first series for both Lunatic-Hai and MVP
Look
Space.
at those headsets. They have their names on the headset. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, everyone's falling over to sponsor Lunatic-Hai, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised they have sick apparel.
Yep.
If you guys are interested, their jerseys are available online for sale on enish.co.kr. I'm not sure how the international shipping is like with that, but especially if you're in Korea, it's been a lot of fans have asked us many times about being able to buy jerseys, and they are finally available for Lunatic-Hai.
Kyoku's going to make his way back in, so he was the culprit with the weaker bladder than the rest of his teammates. As you can see Lunatic-Hai, they're just like, come on, guys, I want to get back into this. Toby nervously scratching himself. Okay. Lunatic-Hai, this is a map that they have full held multiple times, Season 3. And they have utilized some interesting compositions in order to do so as well. The
Welcome
triple
back,
support
Taejun.
was the fun one, yep.
Yep, you do have to play a long time without bathroom breaks, he realizes.
Yep. It's been a long time since he's been on the desk.
Yeah, Season 2 opened a long time ago when he played one match before he and Dean were no longer on the roster. All right, so MVP Space in a bit of a hole here, Atlas. They are going to go for their attacking phase. Full completing the map's not enough. A minute 50 is a big time bank for Lunatic-Hai. Don't think we're going to be getting any sort of overtime in this map. Looking very, very unlikely unless MVP Space can just go full speed and keep this thing just bumping the whole way through.
Yeah, and Lunatic-Hai looking like they're going for the triple DPS style composition, using the Harry Hook-esque pickup of Toby's...
Toby's just vandalizing this security.
Yeah, he really is. Okay. They're going to see that room, and MVP Space are going to get so mad. That was their favorite room, Papa Smithy. He's just trying to tilt them straight off the bat. Oh, my widescreens.
That's a widescreen.
That ruined my Hearthstone game.
Oh, he had lethal too, I can check.
Oh, no, but he was playing Shaman. He doesn't have it. Have you seen the meta right now? You got to be a Druid, a Paladin, or a Mage if you want that lethal from 30, and I saw the 30.
Well, OneFat going to be opening up to the Doomfist. We knew this would happen on attack because it does have a lot of different options with the Meteor Strike. Onto the room there.
They're going to need it real quickly as well if they want to keep up with the timing that Lunatic-Hai did put
Toby's
down.
on Soldier 76. Okay,
Yeah, that's
Lunatic-Hai.
what we were talking about. He was vandalizing the room.
I know, but it's Toby in particular.
He's doing his Harry Hook impression, and wow, OneFat actually finding Taejun, which is crazy, just tracking him with the fist bullets.
The idea behind Toby going on Soldier is to have another person that can abuse sightlines and take down the OneFat before he gets there, but he's managed to gap close. He hasn't been killed on the way to the point, and that means Doomfist's been doing work.
Yeah, he really, really has. That first tick now going to come in. Lunatic-Hai, they do have an opportunity to jump back on, but without enough members, and Zumba now just going to get charged up and punched.
This setup was engineered and tweaked to deal with OneFat, and it was found wanting.
Yeah, no options there at all, and he's now going to have that Meteor Strike, and the follow-up kills from MVP Space are here.
Oh, Yaki with a bit of BM there. Well, MVP Space need every single second they can get. They can open up a more impressive time bank than Lunatic-Hai. The sinking feeling that MVP fans would have been feeling when it was 1 minute 50 in the reserve for Lunatic-Hai might go away.
They've got 5 ultimates against 1.
Well,
They're feeling
this
pretty
one
good.
does stop other ultimates.
Hey, that's true. Those few seconds work can certainly be done. They have control of this high ground as well. Do Lunatic-Hai as Kuki's going to dive forward with the nano boost. It's going to be answered though immediately by Jaehong, who's just going to get destroyed. In fact, MVP Space grabbing a couple of members from that back line or wherever Taejun was.
The dives with the Doomfist are much more clean than the other dive player we've seen from MVP Space. They clearly put a lot of time into prepping Doomfist. OneFat hasn't fallen once, and just assassinates Eska.
He was just punished for trying to get that hack onto the health pack, and now OneFat looks like he's spawn camping on fire on this Doomfist.
It's even scarier. He's health back camping because, hey, if you want to position yourself hacking a health back, you're going to get squished by the rocket punch.
Yeah, and that seismic slam as well.
Eska has not been able to use EMP once so far on Hollywood.
Just feels like he just gets punched and killed almost every time. Standing next to walls is dangerous as Toby. He's going to get picked off in exactly that fashion. Fuse going to be the answering
Most
kill
supports
from
murdered
Miro.
already.
Oh god, OneFat throws out the Meteor Strike and actually picks out Jaehong. Jaehong must be getting frustrated about that because it seems to be exactly what he wants every single time. And Yaki steps up on this Tracer. More kills. It's OneFat is just a one-man army right now, punching people left, right, and center. Still claiming position on this point. Zumba in that Pilot Diva form, trying to run away.
OneFat wants to win so bad, but they still haven't gotten the full completion on the Streets phase. Jaehong has Transcendence up this time, so cannot be assassinated as easily.
Yep, Yaki with the sound barrier helping him out, but wasn't actually under too much pressure. Jumping around that backline, good barrier stops a lot of that work done as another Meteor Strike. Man, OneFat is just a one-man army, most certainly.
On low, he is taken out for the first time. This may actually stall out the push. We're on the side of MVP Space. They might want to run back and deny any ults from being built up.
Oh, and speaking of denial, it's a great place to regain control here on the side of Lunatic-Hai. Pretty difficult position to get that run back to if you are MVP Space, and now without a lot of ultimates available, Lunatic-Hai, despite what was a very quick Streets phase for MVP Space, they do still have 2.5 minutes. This is a point that is just difficult for them to get back to.
And Eska's Q button could just undo MVP Space because time bank is an issue. Full completion is not enough. So one single EMP now might actually be a dagger through the heart for MVP Space.
Yep, Yaki getting himself over to the back. As there's the pulse bomb, but doesn't find any joy onto Eska. He's going to try and run his way back. Looks for that EMP. Pretty spread is everyone. Still throws it out though, and just gets punched.
It was all alone.
Yeah, that was his temple that just got destroyed. Didn't even manage to snap back as, okay, the mech under fire, but is going to stay alive for the moment. Does lose it in the end. QOQ going to be able to do the work to take that one down. Lunatic-Hai still on this payload as Miro's trying to be the hero that they need. Primal Rage is there to try and disrupt, and Undyne's going to fall down because of it.
Miro by time down to 200 HP, usually good at getting out of these scenarios, does.
That's going to be a lot of damage, but they do at least have the sound barrier.
Respawns have come through.
Never mind.
Jaehyung's going to keep people alive. There's not enough burst to necessarily take anyone down, so this is actually going to be fine for Lunatic-Hai for now.
Oh, Kyoku does pick up the kill onto Miro, though, with the self-destruct. And that could be important. No barriers, no big body now to position defensively on this. As MVP Space are just going to continue this car moving.
Delay was good. 2 minutes 30 means that it's unlikely that MVP Space will be able to beat the time bank from Lunatic-Hai. It may even be an overtime capture, but they've done the minimum. They've got to the final point here on Hollywood. No ults to show for it. Soon to be the meteor strike from One Fact.
Jaehyung's dead, just One Fact. Grabbing that kill. He said soon to be the meteor strike. That's only going to help, grabbing picks like that. Not a lot of anything else, though.
Yeah, Toby has sound barrier coming up soon. Jaehyung a lot further away from Transcendence, but can position very, very shallow on the Zenyatta and still get massive value. Eska wants to look for a delay. See if he can just stop the payload pushing, use the MP finally.
Yeah, but Yaki is going to win the Tracer battle, so already MVP Space with a slight advantage. Make that more, as Jaehyung's going to fall down as well as Toby.
But the card's not moving just yet. They've got 3 kills, but they need to push. That's a 4th.
Oh, Miro taken down by a brilliant stick by Yaki. We mentioned that he was stepping up, certainly is looking good, and Zumba smacked in the back of the head. This performance is honestly career-making for Yaki. He's just looked so
Gets the kill! That's what you can do with Doomfist. Single rocket punch. It even has the jump to get out.
And this card is now getting itself towards the point. They're going to use Meteor Strike just to buy some space. He'll dive on top, wants to kill the front line. Miro's going to get punched out of the way, uppercutted as well as the Primal Rage does come in. MVP Space still able to get some of these picks. No joy from Zumba with the ultimate either, as Undyne's able to punish Toby. A lot more being picked up here by MVP as there's no more defense matrix. Kyoku as well, able to get the finish-up kill onto Zumba.
Jaehyung can buy time.
Yeah, Kuki as well can also try and get some kills back here with the nano boost available on top of him. Miro does punish Fuse. This is important, but they trade the Lucios.
Taejun just trying to stay on the cart, keep it contested. Time continues to tick away, and Eskai's EMP.
Okay, throws it in there as well, breaks all the barriers, stops any answer here from MVP Space, but has he stopped enough as he has to translocate his way back again once more? Yaki's on fire, and he is able to get the kills. They get the mech, they grab the Diva, they grab Eska. Oh my goodness, it does look like MVP Space are creating the space that they need, but Self-Destruct is able to take down Jaehyung as he tries to come back in. It is so close, Papa Smithy. You are so right. They do get the completion and no overtime as well.
So crucial with 9 seconds left. They reset it to a minute. Okay, deep breath here. They will have an attempt to put this in. Still is a lot more time for Lunatic-Hai. They do have an advantage. It doesn't necessarily mean a guarantee because the Doomfist has been so potent on attack. And let's see if 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time of asking, Lunatic-Hai have a better answer. If they can find a way to answer Doomfist on point A, that might just kill MVP Space's hopes alone. But Toby on Soldier to have an extra hit scan and kill the Doomfist before he got there did not work on first attempt.
Oh man, MVP Space looked so good. Shoutouts massively to their DPS. Yaki and One Fact really took the bull by the horns. Impressive. Absolutely. Have a little bit of extra time.
And Lunatic-Hai was so close. If they could have gone in overtime, it would have been a much easier question. 2 minutes 40 to get a single tick. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
But now, One Fact will be running the Doomfist. It's almost no question for Lunatic-Hai that he will run it again. This time they will not be going with Toby on the Soldier. They're just going with very much the expected heroes for everyone and hoping they're going to have a plan to either proxy the Doomfist or kill the Doomfist. Hell, Jaehyung, get one of those sleep darts on the Doomfist. They need to make it work because they could not on the first attack from MVP Space.
Yeah, the hyper standards in there. Jaehyung's probably going to be the one that wants to get some snipes onto One Fact. Currently has suffered 4 damage. Ouch. Now looking for some sort of flanking play. Setting himself up. Seeing where the Lunatic-Hai are
You
going
do not
to be
want to come in
dangerous
that
enough.
doorway and get
Hell
rocket
no.
punched by the Doomfist. Sleep on the door! In fact, he did it!
Jaehong is so
Jaehong's
good. Picks up the kill, does Toby, but it's all about that sleep dart that got the work in there. And Lunatic-Hai will silence MVP Space on this first push through 20 seconds now on the clock. They do not have long, and they want to get as many ticks as possible. If they can actually get onto this point and take it, that is very important. But now time is ticking down. They should have the opportunity to at least get on there before this breaks down, but will the bootback be in there? Will MVP Space be able to jump onto this point in time as the EMP flew off somewhere in the back line? And one fact, almost being picked off, but does get Jaehong. The answer's there by Toby, but 1-for-1, is that what they're looking for? Yaki gets a kill onto Miro. That is huge. They get the mech at the same time. The front line taken down. Kuki's still there to create a big body on this point, and Toby is cleaned up. They should be able to get this first tick. Comes in. QOQ now sitting on top of this point. Can they get the second tick is the question. Kuki grabs Taejun, but Eska gets himself out before anything else.
Eska's going to wait and then go for the last second contest. They do not want to give away point A, you'd think. They're actually going to pull back. They're worried enough, and that means we're going to get some overtime push from MVP Space.
That is so huge, because with 2 minutes and 40 seconds in Lunatic-Hai's back pocket, MVP Space needed to be able to cap that to really ensure that they are going to challenge Lunatic-Hai on Hollywood for this game number 5 tied up series.
So no one can get off the payload. They need someone contesting at all times, and maybe multiple, because Primal Rage can just end the round if it goes long enough.
Well, that is going to be thrown out here by Miro, just trying to get some punches.
Watch every time they go off the payload, there is basically a second and a half, or the map ends, but Primal Rage is completely used, and the payload has not been evacuated.
Well, there's going to be the Meteor Strike. One fact looking for it, doesn't quite find the kill, and oh, Jaehong keeps himself up. There's the final punch to lock that one in there. Taejun was able to grab that mech, but are they going to be able to get anything else? Someone needs to make sure that they're on this point. There's the charge up. Mech lives, as One Fact has to get himself out with the Seismic Slam.
The One Fact lives as well. They will keep pushing. Every extra meter matters in overtime.
Oh, Yaki wanted to find that stick. It was so close on Miro.
Doesn't quite get it. They don't have Primal Rage to boop on the cart. Toby, some sort of secret mission here. So far, the cart is patrolled by One Fact and Lucio. Is Winston diving in? Boop back.
Yeah, really nice to get that barrier in the wrong position there, as well as Kuki's going to be able to silence Miro. One Fact was taken down. That is so important, as now QOQ gets hacked and destroyed. Eska very close to an EMP, but is killed before he can possibly use it. But this could be the opportunity now for Lunatic-Hai to get the work done. Remember, this overtime is going to tick down so fast. He does get back onto the point, but that's it. That's all the distance that MVP Space are going to make.
98.77 meters is the goal. They pushed at 98.76. First Instinct is not far enough, but Doomfist alone can do some incredible things. If MVP Space can stop it being a first push capture on point A, overtime against the Meteor Strike is going to be tricky to navigate for the side of Lunatic-Hai. We've had some close ones, Atlas. We've had it go 5 and 7 games. The Runaway series, that was Runaway falling away towards the end. It was very one-sided. Panthera pushed them to the last. Somehow, MVP Space also pushing them to the last. There's still a real chance for them, but you have to give the advantage to Lunatic-Hai.
Well, I don't even know, man, because they kept that in overtime for so long. MVP Space, a really impressive performance. That is a fantastically parallel parked position there as well. I mean, that has to go in favor of MVP Space.
You're going to go give them some honorary driver's licenses after the game, win, lose, or draw?
There's something, I don't know whether it's like I've got partial OCD or something like that, but very parallel lines just make me so happy. And that was looking real good.
So we said live by the sword, die by the sword. Live by the fist, die by the fist, I guess. With the Doomfist, they're going to run the Farah as well. And this was the duo they started off this series with. They're going to end it with it. Yaki's going to be pretty prominent here, looking for a bit of ult percentage with the first rocket. They get the confirmation.
Yep, couple come in there as Eska's just going to run his way forward to that invisibility. We'll be able to scout some things out.
He gets 26% with just the first salvo.
But One Fact is just going to uppercut and destroy Eska.
Yep. Well, Eska wanted to hack a health back, and he found a rocket punch.
Yeah, that's bad news. I'm going to put that in the cons column. But Lunatic-Hai do have a lot more time to work with. It's going to tick down to 2 minutes relatively quickly. MVP Space do certainly need to be commended for those early picks that they were able to pop through.
Chasing down to Littae-Jun. This is aggressive from Yaki.
Yeah, but one fact is going to get taken down first. So Littae-Jun keeping himself alive very, very nicely. QOQ does get Zumba's mech. This could be important. Eska trying to find the hack, but doesn't get it. Crucially, he's going to be boot back out of range. Littae-Jun, decent positioning now, dodging out of the way of these rockets. But so far, this defense from MVP Space has certainly been good.
And one fact will get back as well with no penalty. There wasn't even been control of the map. There is one fact.
Miro, of all people, is going to be the one that jumps up and takes down the Pharah.
Now they have res. They don't use it. Fuse dies as well.
Oh.
Two-man res.
Nice work by Undyne as one fact comes back, takes down Littae-Jun as well. A little bit late maybe on this ultimate from Eska, and he's just going to get punched as soon as the EMP runs out.
It was still building up. It was slow. Here is the rocket barrage. No one to answer him.
Oh, God. So dangerous.
Oh, MVP Space, they're so close. They're knocking on the door of a famous victory, Atlas.
Yeah, man. 1 minute to go. Lunatic-Hai, now it's them having the amount of time that MVP Space had at the very beginning. This is almost like the hard reset for the MVP Space squad.
Now, they have Miro with Primal Rage. They will soon have the EMP available. There's no ambiguity about that. They will have it in the next 50 seconds. A single pick here may delay them into overtime. That will be the dream on the side of Space. Remember, just the capture's not enough. They have to push the cart afterwards.
Yep. Taejun as well, probably wanting to win. Oh, good punch back, but
50% of the damage onto Toby, but not enough. Now, one fact is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yep, Sound Barrier is going to come out from Lunatic-Hai, though, and Littae-Jun throws in the tack visor. Just not really going to be enough, though, as he runs away, needing to get away. Oh, that shot from Yaki was exactly why this Pharah has looked so good.
Nope.
Toby's going to get punished at the same time. He was actually just trying to get the last bit of health, and one fact, you can see he was also very, very low.
Yaki is really low, Atlas, and Undyne is dead. The res might not be in position. This is the one shot for Lunatic-Hai.
They have to get onto this point, though. Eska's going to join Miro. And now in overtime, they'll have to get this full completion and then the push all the way up as far as MVP Space got it.
They don't have to use everything here, MVP Space. They can wait for the best possible moment. They get Jaehong.
That's just the one-punch man. Jumps on top of Jaehong. Now has the Meteor Strike. Looks for the backline and should be able to find Taejun as well. He'll get a fair bit of damage. The double res comes out onto the whole front line. This could be it for MVP Space as they're looking to try and get them pushed off this point. Overtime now, right at the top. Both teams so incredibly close, and MVP Space are the ones that are getting the kills. There's the run back, and MVP Space will topple the Season 3 and 2 champions in Lunatic-Hai.
And they will silence the crowd. Maybe 5 fans shout in ecstasy. Everyone else is sullen, Atlas. It's only the first match of the season, but it's so difficult to get through groups. They are so cutthroat, and MVP Space has rewritten the script. We had such a standard week. 2 days of the favorites winning, 3-0, 3-0. But it's going to be a famous 3-2 victory, and for once, we go to the final map, and Lunatic-Hai don't win.
Yep, and Meta Athena's going to be looking at MVP Space and saying, oh my goodness, you just bought us an opportunity. Runaway is going to be saying, well, our first 3-0 victory is looking fantastic to start off this group. It is still a crazy ask to say that that Lunatic-Hai are not going to make it out of this group. But man, this has bought MVP so much breathing room as far as getting in as well, and Runaway will be very, very happy with their options at the same time.
One fact was a monster. You called him a one-man army. You made the anime reference to One Punch Man. Both of them apt for just how powerful the Doomfist was. And I think early in the series you might have said, well, maybe they're holding strategies here, Lunatic-Hai. Maybe they don't want to show their pocket answer to the Doomfist, but they were challenged again and again. They tried Toby jumping onto the Soldier while they had Jaehong, a better Soldier player, playing Ana because, of course, that's Ultra Comfort, and not even the most beautiful mid-air Sleep Dart was enough. That was the sort of moment that defines Jaehong, and yet it wasn't enough to hold down the Doomfist or MVP Space.
That sort of moment, though, I don't think necessarily says that Lunatic-Hai aren't up to stuff. It says that MVP Space, with their new pickups, Fuse and QOQ especially, I mean, as far as debut performances on a new team, looked fantastic.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that if you're a Lunatic-Hai fan, you can brush this off. You're two-time champions. It's just the first match.
Yeah.
It's just group stage. But those sort of excuses only matter to a point. They did lose to MVP Space. MVP Space do now look like a team to follow. And sure, you may have, in the short term, answers as a Lunatic-Hai fan, but you do have to wonder.
Yeah. And what are we wondering about? Is it going to be a different roster that we'll see heading out next time around? Because although Lunatic-Hai definitely did have some standout moments, it may not necessarily be the makeup that they're looking for as far as victory is concerned. And maybe it is just that Lunatic-Hai, the dive meta specialists themselves, are struggling a little bit to find their identity moving forward as far as meta.
I can't say they're struggling yet. It's a single
That
match.
is
They
true.
took it to the 5th map.
Time to ask these questions.
Taejun
right?
coming in instead of Guido. Guido had done so well previously. Play of the game. Feels like it was a while ago, but it's going to be on Yaki, the best clip of today. We talked about how they opened the Farah. Move on to Toby, Majestic, and the Farah got a lot of free time to shoot.
Oh, and that punch, the Rocket Plus punch, almost like he was playing his own Doomfist in the form of a flying lady. But Yaki needs another shout out as well. We've talked about one fact, but his Tracer, especially towards the end of this series, was standout. Absolutely. So, after all is said and done, before this, we did have Combox getting the victory over Metabellum, but Metabellum, thankfully, getting that first win for the Meta organization, and then MVP Space with the surprise win over Lunatic-Hai. Really impressive stuff from the MVP team, and
MVP haven't had a lot to celebrate in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Infinity not around in the league anymore. Space the only roster. They rolled some dice. They lost Daly, who left the roster. But they're going to feel great about the result here. I thought Fuse was really good on debut, on support, was hanging back so many teams. The Lucio pushes forward with the shorter ranges, gets caught in EMP, GG. Fuse was hanging back and being there with the sound barrier after EMPs time and time again. So I thought MVP Space were really well prepared against the Sombra in particular, which did not find the same value that SK has traditionally. A lot to like on MVP Space, a lot to question on the side of Lunatic-Hai, but now it's going to be fun to watch both teams going forward instead of just being one-eyed on our two-time champions.
yeah, and now we're going to be looking at a group that has, once again, Lunatic-Hai and Runaway in it, and Runaway had a very, very powerful 3-0 victory to start off their season against Meta Athena, and Lunatic-Hai looking like, you know, there are question marks abound. This group could be very, very fun to track as far as Group A here in Apex Season 4. Of course, Lunatic-Hai still the formidable players that they are, and they have suffered defeats at the hands of other teams in the past. Certainly not a time where we're going to be counting them out in any way, and you did allude to that earlier on. But on the side of MVP Space, they'll be feeling very, very good. Next up, we're going to be seeing Roxorcas make their way back, and Jisoo Busan as well, desperate for some victory. And then Kongdu Panthera looking to silence the NC Foxes, who did look great in their debut.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Remember, next week is our second and last 3-day week. We'll come back on Monday, the usual time of 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time. 3 more match days next week. We still have not seen all 16 teams. Luxury Watch Blue, I believe, are playing on Wednesday, clearly not playing on Monday. They will be the last team to see Mano, Sabiobi, and Flower. It's quite the trio. They're another stacked lineup as well, but this was the curveball we didn't see coming. Thought Meta Athena going down was a surprise. Lunatic-Hai going down, a bigger one.
Yeah, and of course, Runaway looking fantastic as well against Meta Athena. It just feels like this whole group is a lot of excitement, and this whole season starting to turn into one of these dramatic ones as well. I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are too. We'll see you next time for some more Apex.
For win.